When you talk big games that have taken place inside the walls of Michigan Stadium, well, plenty come to mind. The first game under the lights in 2011, the downpour and rout of Notre Dame in 2019, and the biggest win in recent history last November over the arch nemesis of your university that you hadn't conquered in one whole decade. Well, this has the chance to be another one of those games etched into the lengthy script of instant classics that the University of Michigan has been a part of. Will the ghosts of those historic teams be on the side of the boys dressed in all navy today? Well, the answer for now is unknown. The Wolverines host the 10th-ranked Nittany Lions of Penn State in front of 110,000 wearing all maize in solidarity. Zach Linfield here with the rest of the team coming up shortly on the WCBN pregame show and coverage of Michigan football. Well, it's great to have you with us. It's game day in Ann Arbor. The Penn State Nittany Lions are in town for a top 10 matchup and for what should be a fantastic game between two Big Ten East rivals. It's a 25th all-time meeting between Michigan and Penn State, and well, neither team has faced off with the ranked opponent this season through 5 and 6 games, respectively. But now, their biggest tests yet. We're getting you ready. It's Michigan and Penn State from Michigan Stadium here in Ann Arbor. This one's going to be fun. With that, we welcome you into WCBN's coverage of Michigan football. I'm Zach Linfield here with Charlie Brigham now as we welcome you in the WCBN pregame show. Well, first, Charlie, let's start with a recap of the Michigan victory last weekend in Indiana. After a shaky first half in Bloomington last Saturday, the halftime adjustments made by Jesse Minter and Michigan's defensive staff were really masterful after surveying IU's fast-tempo offense through the first 30 minutes of play. Only 29 total yards of offense for the Hoosiers in the final 30, with increased pressure on the quarterback, and that helped the Maize and Blue shut out Indiana and clinch a 31-10 road win.
You know, Zach, that's just kind of the stuff that you've come to expect from this Michigan team, not only this year, but last year as well when they made their run deep all the way to the Orange Bowl. They've just played good, quality football, and they've made adjustments where they've needed to. That game kind of gave me flashbacks to the Penn State game last year in Happy Valley. A rocky start for the Wolverines, but they fought all the way to the very end and ended up pulling it out, as you mentioned, 31-10.
The team seemed kind of frozen in their tracks for quite some time leading up to the break in Indiana following the events that occurred on the sideline, with running backs coach and one of the emotional leaders for this team, Mike Hart, collapsing to the ground. Michigan's running backs were seen shaken up pretty emotional and were expected to return to play just a few moments later, while the team in the second half showed a lot of resilience overcoming that moment on the way to their win.
You know, it's a real stereotypical thing to say about the game of football, but a team really is a family. So when you see someone inside of your family struggling, as with Mike Hart last week, that's tough, especially for those running backs. He is basically part of their, inner group. So I can't give enough respect to all the players on the team, especially the running backs, going back out there, fighting for their brothers, fighting for their coach, and just making him proud.
J.J. McCarthy threw the ball 36 times last Saturday, which is a career high, after Michigan's run game was figured out by Indiana's defense. Although Blake Corum ran for 124 yards on the day, 50 of them came on the long run on the first offensive drive, which ended up resulting in a Wolverines touchdown. Outside of the interception that J.J. threw in the double coverage that bounced up into the air for Devin Matthews to take away, 3 second-half touchdowns paced the way to outscore IU 21-0 in those final 2 quarters.
I think J.J. has shown so much growth just since getting the start earlier in this year. Once he earned that starting job, he always has that potential for the big plays. He has those legs. He has great mobility. He has a cannon for an arm. The play I always think back to whenever I hear J.J. McCarthy's name is that throw against Western Michigan where he just threw it way across the field on the run, those big plays. But since earning that starting job, he's refined his role. He still has that big play capability, but he's just making precise decisions. I mean, there's a reason why he's number 1 in the NCAA right now in completion percentage. He's making the smart reads, making great throws, and just overall excellent quarterback play from the sophomore.
And what were your key takeaways from that victory last weekend against Indiana?
It really just comes down to, Michigan taking care of business, controlling what they can control. In a game like this against, you mentioned, their first ranked opponent of the season, you can't let the big games go to your head. They've taken care of business, done what they've needed to done against the, lower ranked and lower tier schools, the Hawaiis and the UConns of the world. This is going to be their first big test. 2 tough Big Ten matchups against Maryland and Indiana, but it all needs to come to fruition here. The O-line has to be on. JJ has to be on. The running backs need to find their holes and hit their gaps. It's going to be a tough matchup. Again, top 10 game here in Ann Arbor today.
Kickoff coming up soon, about 15 minutes away from the Big House in Ann Arbor. Let's take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard here on the WCBN pregame show. Well, we begin in the Big Ten at the top of the hour. The 24th-ranked Illini square off with Minnesota in a battle of Big Ten West foes with first place, and it's up for grabs in the Big Ten West. At 3:30, Maryland travels to Bloomington for a date with Indiana. The Hoosiers suffered their first home loss last weekend against Michigan, and Maryland looks to get back to their early season success after the Terps fell to Purdue last Saturday in College Park. With Rutgers and Ohio State having the weekend off, Maryland, Indiana, and Michigan, Penn State are the only two East Division games being played here today. The final Big Ten East team in action is Michigan State, and the Spartans host Wisconsin at 4 p.m. from Spartan Stadium. MSU, winless in their previous 4, look for their first conference victory against a Badger team that is still very much in the mix in that odd Big Ten West division. Sparty catching 7 points on the spread against Wisconsin at their homecoming. The out-of-conference slate today packed with great contests across the country. We'll start with the second top 10 matchup of the day down in SEC country, with 3rd-ranked Alabama visiting 6th-ranked Tennessee. The Vols have dropped the last 15 against the Tide and entered their biggest home game of the year in Knoxville as 9-point underdogs with College game day in town at Neyland Stadium. Kickoff scheduled for 3:30. Also at 3:30, a battle of 5-0 teams in the Big 12 as number 8 Oklahoma State visits TCU to square off with the Horned Frogs team in Fort Worth that wants to avenge their 63-17 loss to the Cowboys last November. TCU was able to knock off the Cinderella story of 2022 so far with a 7-point win over previously unbeaten Kansas last weekend. A game to truly keep your eyes on tonight at 7:30. 4th-ranked Clemson traveling to Tallahassee to try and fend off the Seminoles of Florida State. Dabo's Tigers enter as 5-point favorites and are an incredible 98-3 against unranked teams since the start of the 2012 season. 4-2 FSU looking to snap a 7-game skid against Clemson in front of what should be a rowdy crowd at Doak Campbell Stadium. Number 7 USC off to a 6-0 start with potential Heisman favorite Caleb Williams under center for the first time since 2006 when Pete Carroll was still the head man for the Trojans, and they travel to Utah for a ranked matchup with the Utes, who find themselves ranked at 20 following their road loss to UCLA. Well, that's the out-of-town scoreboard here on the WCBN pregame show as we're about 13 minutes away from kickoff at the Big House. I'm Zach Linfield. Now time for an in-depth preview and injury report, and we welcome Charlie Brigham back into the broadcast now as we inch closer and closer to Michigan's 4th top 10 matchup in the past 2 years, and the second one of those at home. The last time both of these two teams were inside the top 25 when they played was back in 2019 for Penn State's annual whiteout, where the Nittany Lions won by a touchdown led by KJ Hamler and their current quarterback Sean Clifford. And well, Charlie, there's something special whenever these two teams meet on the gridiron.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously incredible atmosphere today with the maize out. We had the stripe game last year, Penn State, pretty much a whiteout besides for, the one stripe of blue down the middle. But anytime these two teams get together, it's kind of similar to, in my eyes, to Michigan playing Michigan State. No matter how good one team is or how poorly another team is playing, it seems whenever these two teams match up, they play to each other's skill level. It's always a close contest. It's always a great game, and it's always just incredible football to watch.
Only one of the past 3 matchups with Michigan and Penn State have been decided by 1 possession or less. Well, Michigan's pass rush has improved week by week, it seems. They got to Connor Bazelak 7 times last weekend against Indiana, including 2 sacks on the final drive. But Sean Clifford, he's a versatile signal caller. He's big, he's fast, and he is very fearless using his legs. He has 4 touchdowns on the ground this season.
I believe that is 3rd on this Penn State team, might be tied for 2nd. He, like you said, is a big physical dude. Not afraid to put his body on the line. He showed that throughout his entire Penn State career. He's got the arm. He's got the IQ. I mean, he is your textbook system quarterback. But as you mentioned, also has that ability to use his legs. Big physical guy, can hurt you where it counts.
On the offensive side, Michigan averaging 43 points per game. But since Big Ten play began, the offense has shown that it does have flaws and be vanilla somewhat at times. Coach Harbaugh and company let their youngster air it out 36 times to be able to move the ball down the field in their win last weekend. But Penn State's secondary is the real deal and will likely present the biggest challenge that JJ has faced in his young career.
That's where we're going to have to see JJ making those smart decisions. I mentioned the highest completion percentage in Division I football right now. He's got the weapons, guys like Ronnie Bell, where he can make those short passes and let them work from there. Can't try to do too much. Can't dance around in the pocket because, as you mentioned, Penn State's secondary is legit. Going to have to make the smart reads. Can't try to force any balls in today.
Both coaches, Jim Harbaugh and James Franklin, have taken heat for not winning the big game in the past. And look, today has a chance for both coaches to get a signature win and print it on their resume and a chance for a Big Ten championship. Whoever wins today will remain tied with Ohio State, who's on a bye this weekend, for the lead in the Big Ten East and a top 10 win on their schedule. It's safe to say this is a big game for both programs who seem to be going both upwards in their trajectory.
Outside of that Buckeye game on both of their schedules, this is the biggest game of the year for both teams, at least in the regular season. A top 10 matchup, and not only that, a top 10 in-conference matchup. Michigan ranked at 5, Penn State at 10, both in the Big Ten East. It is going to be an incredibly hard-fought game. As you mentioned, both coaches, Harbaugh and Franklin, have had struggles winning the big game in the past, but this is going to be, just an incredibly important game for both of them.
At this time, we're going to let our crowd mic take over and the Star Spangled Banner play here on WCBN's pregame show. Charlie and I will be right back following the national anthem.
Tri-Service ROTC Color Guard, we invite you to join in singing as Mr. Chris Crenshaw, trombonist, composer, and arranger with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, our guest today at halftime, leads the Michigan Marching Band in our national anthem.
Beautiful rendition of the national anthem by the Michigan Marching Band, celebrating their 150th anniversary here this season. Now let's take a look at the injury report for both Michigan and Penn State. The Nittany Lions have a much shorter list, and the one significant name they've had on their report seems to be on track to give it a go today, and that's receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, after he was seen sporting a walking boot after the win against Northwestern in what was a hurricane-like game in State College 2 weekends ago. Penn State coming fresh off of a bye. Michigan will get one of its star pass catchers back today. Roman Wilson was out last weekend at Indiana. Michigan just trying to play it careful with their star receiver from Honolulu. Wilson scored 2 touchdowns against Penn State last year in Happy Valley. Cade McNamara, Eric Gall, Trente Jones, and Nakai Hill-Green all inactive today for Michigan. Caden Colasar, William Wagner, now both out for the season with ACL injuries. Well, Charlie, it's a decent-sized laundry list of Michigan athletes that do have injuries, but they played relatively well. They have some pretty good depth. The only thing they need to be careful about is that offensive line. With Trente Jones going down, Carson Barnhart will get the start at right tackle today. And really, besides that, that's all the experience, maybe outside of Giovanni El Hadi.
And where you lose strength at the offensive line position, I think gaining Roman Wilson back kind of almost balances that out. He's such a great route runner, and he's so quick off the ball that in combination with Ronnie Bell, a lot of quick hitters today could prevent the offensive line from having to hold too much pressure on the offensive end.
Michigan about to take the field. Charlie, let's talk keys to the game. What's your key for Michigan to knock off 10th-ranked Penn State today?
You can't play complacent. Penn State is a very good team And Michigan is going to need a couple big plays, in my opinion, to win this game. You're not going to win here just by going 3 yards in a cloud of dust the entire game or throwing checkdowns all game. You're going to need the big play every once in a while to push yourself ahead.
That's going to do it for the WCBN pregame show. It's 5th-ranked Michigan and 10th-ranked Penn State for the annual Maze Out here in Ann Arbor. And we'll give it now to Jared Greenspan, Charlie Brigham to take over for the first half. Zach Linfield, talk to you later. That concludes the WCBN pregame show.
Thank you, Zach. Excellent as always. As mentioned, my name is Charlie Brigham. Alongside me, Jared Greenspan. And folks, what a day it is turning out to be here in Ann Arbor. Crisp temperature of about 45 degrees, and the stadium is packed full of maize. And I mean absolutely packed. Jared, we were talking before the game, a lot of students out of town due to fall break and some student planned trips, but the student section is filled right to the brim. Plenty of maize shirts, plenty of maize pom-poms.
You said it best. This stadium is packed like sardines. It's great to be here, Charlie. A raucous atmosphere. You can feel the intensity even from up here in this booth. Everyone in this stadium, all 110,000 people, know what's at stake today. Michigan and Penn State. For the Wolverines, a path towards an undefeated record going into Columbus pretty much starts and ends here. It could be smooth sailing if you look at the schedule after this game. The buck stops here. We'll learn a lot more about Michigan today by about 4 o'clock.
You know, going back to that game in Happy Valley last year, obviously Penn State in pretty much a whiteout atmosphere, a really tough place to play. Michigan comes onto their turf, knocks them off. That huge late touchdown by Eric All on that drag route. Penn State has to have that in the back of their mind. They're coming into pretty much the same exact atmosphere, just flipped. Michigan, a maze out, very tough place to play. The fans are in it. They are excited for this ball game, and Penn State's going to be looking for revenge here in Ann Arbor.
And that game last year really springboarded Michigan's season back on track. The Wolverines had lost a heartbreaker, a very frustrating game in East Lansing to Mel Tucker and Michigan State, and went to Happy Valley, pulled out that win, and we all know what happened after that. A win over Ohio State and a Big Ten championship and a berth in the college football playoff. Penn State can follow a similar recipe today. The Nittany Lions ranked 10th in the country. Many of those still really don't believe in them. A win today in the Big House would certainly change that perception.
You know, a lot of people don't believe in this Michigan team either. There's been, terms thrown around like cupcake schedule, things of that nature. Again, this is their first ranked opponent of the year. But it's not like it's, they're playing a number 25 team in the country. This is a top 10 team in Penn State. They are a very, very good football program, and it's going to be a battle here down on the turf today.
It's a prove-it game for both teams. There's really no other way around it. They're both ranked in the top 10. Michigan's most difficult opponent, Iowa, Maryland, it's splitting hairs there. Neither of those teams are that scary. Penn State has some good victories in road environments, Purdue and Auburn. Both of those teams are having down years, but today, whoever walks out of here with a win will really feel much better about themselves.
As both teams head out for the coin toss, and you hear that cheer from the crowd, the honorary captain for today, the greatest Olympian of all time, I would say, without a doubt, Michael Phelps will walk out onto the block M as an honorary captain for the Michigan Wolverines today.
DJ Ski snubbed.
Yeah, DJ Ski's got a little bit more work to do before he can take Michael Phelps' place as an honorary captain. Fans continuing to pack themselves into the big house here. About 2 minutes until kickoff. But, Jared, I just want to rehash it as many times as I can. It is packed today.
The maze out looks spectacular. They knew the assignment.
Fans not disappointing. Michigan football said wear maize, and the fans did just that. You see sprinkles of white kind of on the upper bowl in the south end zone. That more so Penn State fans sprinkled up there. You see a few white T-shirts in and out again. Penn State not too far from Ann Arbor. So following the coin toss, it will be the Michigan Wolverines to receive. They will take it in the north end zone. So, Jared, we're going to see J.J. McCarthy in the Michigan Wolverines offense to start things off here in quarter number 1.
And the tenor all week for McCarthy and the Wolverines offensive players that have spoken at availability is that they are just scratching the surface of what they can achieve. And Michigan's offense has been very good, led by Blake Corum. McCarthy, for the most part, has done what many fans anticipated him doing. But he feels there's another level that they have yet to reach that can really vault them from good to great. Now, today's game would be the perfect stage to unveil that next level and really take their performance up a notch.
Zach Linfield and I mentioned it. Roman Wilson back in the lineup today. That could be the key piece that helps J.J. McCarthy spring this offense forward. They have so many weapons on the outside. And with Blake Corum in the backfield, you have to respect the play action. It can really open up the field for J.J. McCarthy. Wind gusting around a little bit, but with McCarthy's arm strength, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And it looks like we are just about set to go.
And we'll see how that affects McCarthy's deep balls, too. He's been struggling on those a little bit. I'll let Seven Nation Army take it away, though.
It's going to be Jake Pinnegar to kick things off for the Nittany Lions. Penn State in the all-white, Michigan in the all-blue, the fans in all maize. It is game time here in Ann Arbor. Again, Charlie Brigham and Jared Greenspan for WCBN Sports. Pinnegar takes his steps and now will kick it away. This one arching its way into the back of the end zone. A.J. Henning will let it go out the back. And it'll be Michigan's offense to take the field right at the 25. J.J. McCarthy will lead his team out there and hopefully down the field for 7 points. In this game, a top 10 matchup, you need all the points you can get.
And quick note on the kickoff, Roman Wilson is back today. He is active. Was not returning kicks, though, so we're not sure if he's fully cleared to assume those duties yet. It was A.J. Henning back to receive.
It's going to be McCarthy to start in the gun. Corum about 2 steps behind him, a bunch set to his right-hand side. 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. Ronnie Bell goes in motion. McCarthy gets the snap, dropping back to pass. Throws a quick little out route. That's caught for a gain of about 5, and there's a late flag. It was Cornelius Johnson who caught it.
And that was Joey Porter Jr. making the tackle, and then I believe he got called for the flag. Already tensions running very high just 9 seconds into this ball game.
So a 5-yard out route could turn into a 20-yard gain here for Michigan. And that is going to be a late hit called. So Michigan moving right down the field after the 3-yard completion from McCarthy.
And that's Porter, who's one of Penn State's more reliable defensive backs, a 3rd-team All-Big Ten selection last season. He's a very solid player, an uncharacteristic mistake. And in this road environment, especially if you're Penn State, you cannot make those mistakes.
The penalty moves the ball up to the 45-yard line. McCarthy back in the gun again. Luke Schoonmaker to his right-hand side. There's the snap. He'll hand off to Corum. Makes a nice move, breaks 1 tackle, and then is wrapped up after a gain of about 5.
When Michigan's defensive players have been asked what makes Blake Corum so difficult to tackle, they really struggle. He's so elusive, so slippery, just does a great job of making something out of nothing. Turns what could have been a 1-yard run into a gain of 6 there.
I mean, thinking back to last week, that play against Indiana, it was splattered all over the internet. 4 defenders on him, somehow ducks out and breaks a long run. 2nd and 5, McCarthy in the gun again. Corum to his left-hand side. 2 receivers to this near sideline. It's Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson. There is Roman Wilson, catches a hitch pass, wide open, and good for a 1st down. That one good for 5.
Wide open indeed. They didn't even bother to cover Roman Wilson. Great recognition by McCarthy, seeing him right there, knowing that they could quick and easy pick up that 1st down and move the chains. As the clock ticks just under 14 minutes, Michigan will have the ball at the Penn State 41-yard line. 3 receivers set, all out to McCarthy's left-hand side. Corum also towards his left. There's the snap. It's going to be a handoff to Corum towards his near sideline. Gets a block, gets to the sideline, and he'll step out of bounds. Nice play there by Blake Corum. That one good for another 1st down. Finally pushed out of bounds by linebacker Jonathan Sutherland. That's Zach Zinter and Olu Oluwatimi, the right guard and the center, with great blocks pulling to the right, really setting up Corum, a great hold to cut back in and pick up another first down, and Michigan moving the ball effortlessly after that penalty.
Already the third first down so far for Michigan on this drive alone. Michigan a quad set, McCarthy in the gun, and now they'll option out of it. Schoonmaker coming into the tight end spot. There's the snap, handoff Corum again. He's got a hole, breaks one tackle, is stood right up after a gain of 5. Gang tackle there by Nittany Lion defenders, but Michigan still moving the ball with ease.
And Michigan has had success all year on its scripted drives, whether that's to begin the game or begin the second half. March down the field in Bloomington, in Iowa City, and the Wolverines are doing it again today against Penn State. That's a testament to Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, and Matt Weiss. These scripted drives performing very well for Michigan.
2nd and 5 here from the 24-yard line. Play clock getting under now 12 seconds. McCarthy going to have to go to work. Motions Corum to his right-hand side. Now he'll drop back to pass. Looking across the middle, and he's got Ronnie Bell over. That one just short of the first down marker, and then what looked to be a late hit. The Michigan fans unhappy with that one. Not quite sure what that was about.
And that's Joey Porter again flying in. Bell was lying on the turf, seemingly already touched, and just got clobbered again. Certainly seems unnecessary. On that play, though, solid pass protection. Took a while to develop, but the Wolverines' front five really doing a solid job protecting McCarthy.
Bell unable to get to the first down marker there, so it's going to be 3rd and about half a yard from the 20-yard line. McCarthy in the gun once more. Corum to his right-hand side. Sends Bell in motion. Will hand off to Corum. And he's got to push for 2 yards and another first down, the 4th of the drive for the Wolverines.
And there's that offensive line again. There's that strength of Blake Corum, who's been able to evolve into a capable short yardage back two. We all know he can break off those long runs, but Michigan needed a 3rd down back amidst the absence of Hassan Haskins moving on to the NFL, and Corum has slid into that role seamlessly.
Donovan Edwards and Colston Loveland check into the game for Blake Corum and Luke Schoonmaker. Loveland at the tight end, down in a 3-point stance on the right-hand side. McCarthy under center will hand off to Edwards, and he's met right at the line of scrimmage, good for at most a gain of 1.
P.J. Mustafer, the big defensive tackle for Penn State, with the stop.
Roman Wilson will come right back into the game for Loveland, so a nice blocking possession there, but Michigan will likely go back to the air here on 2nd and 9. 10:45 left here in the first quarter. Michigan marching their way right down the field on their opening possession. 3 receivers to McCarthy's left-hand side. He's in the pistol. Donovan Edwards behind him. Sends one man in motion. It's Roman Wilson. Handoff Edwards. Breaking towards the right-hand side. Spinning through one tackle and fighting for about 4 extra yards after the contact, and that'll be good for about 3rd and 3 now.
Well, Edwards did a really nice job there of falling forward, making sure to pick up those extra yards as he was being tackled. 3rd and 4 here for Michigan. I wouldn't rule out 4-down territory, but it's probably looking at a field goal situation if the Wolverines can't get this here.
McCarthy going empty here. He has a bunch set as well as another receiver in Donovan Edwards far out to his left-hand side. Cornelius Johnson, the lone receiver on the near sideline. McCarthy screen pass and throws it over the head of Donovan Edwards.
That play was set up. Edwards, if he's able to catch that ball, has 3 blockers to the top. And McCarthy, easy throw, no pressure, no one on Edwards, just totally overshot him.
So the field goal unit comes out. McCarthy stays on the field for the extra second to high-five Donovan Edwards and just kind of say, hey, my bad on that one. So Michigan will have to settle for 3 here after they pretty much marched down the field uncontested on their opening drive. It's going to be Jake Moody from the right hash. Kick is up and good from the 11-yard line. A 21-yard chip shot from Jake Money Moody, and the Wolverines strike first. 3-0 here in Ann Arbor with 9:43 left to play in the quarter.
Well, if you're Michigan, you take the points, you take the early lead, you like the efficiency by which you move down the field, an 11-play, 64-yard drive, chewing up over 5 minutes of clock. What you don't like is the inability to convert in the red zone. They had 1st and 10 at the Penn State 17-yard line, and that unforced error by McCarthy overthrowing a simple screen pass to Edwards is something to remember as this game moves along. Michigan almost certainly would have picked up the first down there, and Edwards even had a chance to take it to the house. Nonetheless, Wolverines would have been set up very well with the rested Blake Corum, who did not play on the last 3 plays of that drive, sitting after playing the entire drive before that.
If there's one bright spot on that drive, it's that Roman Wilson seems to be healthy. He was moving around fine. The leading receiver so far for the Michigan Wolverines, 1 catch for 9 yards. McCarthy, 3 for 4 for 17.
And Roman Wilson adds so much to this offense, one of the fastest players on the team, just truly dynamic, has really come into his own this season. So it's good to see him healthy and back in a pivotal game for the Wolverines. Michigan's offense passed its first test, getting points on the board. It's a big test for the Michigan defense, too, against 2 dynamic running backs and Sean Clifford, a battle-tested veteran quarterback. So the Wolverine defense will have their first chance to make a stand coming up after this media timeout.
Yeah, we mentioned it before the game, and Jared, you just mentioned it. Sean Clifford not afraid to use his legs. A big, physical guy is not afraid to put his body on the line if he needs that extra yard or 2.
And Sean Clifford's been around the block. He's not going to be fazed by this big game atmosphere. The Big House crowd, let me tell you, is going to be very loud. It's always loud with 110,000, but today the intensity is up a notch. The 1997 national champions being honored on the field now, the 25th anniversary. Speaking of loud, the stadium is quite loud right now.
WCBN Zone Adam Bressler was really hoping that Tom Brady would show up for the 25th anniversary. He's got a game tomorrow in Pittsburgh, so...
As Adam would say, though, the game's not today.
True, the game isn't today. Someone get Mr. Brady on the phone and tell him that our very own Adam Bressler is very disappointed he didn't make an appearance in Ann Arbor today.
Let's give props to the student section for a second. Of course, we're slightly biased, but the student section just jam-packed, probably the crowdest it's been all year. Yes, it's a big game, but also it's fall break and half the school's in Las Vegas. So very impressive showing by the student section, and they'll be loud for sure.
I'd love to see what this game would have looked like if it wasn't over fall break and half the student body wasn't in Vegas.
People aren't getting in.
It is packed to the brim right now. I cannot wait until they throw up the attendance record up there on the board. But with that, it's going to be Jake Moody to kick off. Wind blowing out towards the back of the end zone, so would not be surprised to see a touchback here from Moody. And the kick is away, and it's going to be just that.
Nostradamus next to me today on the broadcast.
So following the touchback, the Penn State offense will take the field. Sean Clifford will have his first shot against this Michigan defense. Looking to go down there and take the lead. A touchdown would put Penn State up by 4. A field goal would tie it. Again, Michigan marched down, had to settle for a field goal from the 11-yard line on their first drive, following the incompletion from J.J. McCarthy. But the crowd here in Ann Arbor is getting loud. 2 tight end set. It's going to be Clifford under center for the first play of this drive. Handoff towards the left-hand side and wrapped up right away by Junior Colson.
That's Singleton with the carry. He's their primary back. Great stop, though, by Colson, and a great sign. What I'm looking for today on the defense is Michigan's linebackers. The unit has struggled the most this season of any unit on the defense. Colson and Mike Barrett specifically. Good sign, though, by Colson getting to the line of scrimmage and making that tackle.
Clifford going empty here. 3 receivers towards the Michigan sideline. 1 deep towards his right-hand side. Michigan with a 4-man front. The snap. Clifford dropping back to pass, looking for a quick one across the middle, and he's got it into the hands of his receiver, Parker Washington, who almost had it stripped, but just fighting and clawing for every yard there. That one good for a gain of 9.
And Parker Washington did not look like he was going to get a gain of 9, but he dragged DJ Turner and shook him off him, and Colson and 3 other Wolverines had to come in and make the stop. Now it's 3rd and 1, a pivotal play early in this game for Michigan's defense.
Mason Graham and Jalen Harrell check in for the Wolverines. They're packing the box. Clifford under center, 2 tight end set, sends both tight ends over towards his left-hand side. The snap, it's going to be a handoff to Livingston on the outside, and he's taken down behind the line of scrimmage. What a big third down play by defensive end Mike Morris.
And Mike Morris has really come on strong in recent weeks. A number of sacks in the past few ball games, and one of the leaders of this defense steps up, secures a huge 4th down stop. Morris made the play, but Chris Jenkins was there first, nipping at the heels of Singleton. He shed his blocker right away, and then Morris, after Singleton was forced to bounce outside, comes in to finish the job.
That is a big game play from a big-time defender. Penn State will have to punt it away, and it's going to roll all the way back. Henning decides to pick it up at about the 18-yard line to prevent it rolling deep into Michigan territory. A dangerous play, but it pays off.
A.J. Henning likes to live dangerously back there. He's shown an inclination all year to pick up that punt on the bounce. Hasn't quite cost him yet, but may want to stop doing that come the future.
So it'll be McCarthy to take the field again alongside the Michigan offense. Looking back to that first possession, Jared, Michigan walked right down the field. What did you see on that first drive that really just allowed them to move with such ease?
I saw the offensive line really winning its battles in the trenches. Had some great blocks for Blake Corum runs. Gave J.J. McCarthy plenty of time, was not hurried once. And that offensive line, a Joe Moore award-winning unit last year, had a good amount of turnover entering the year. There are injuries, too. They've been banged up. Trente Jones, the normal right tackle, is out today. But that first drive, Michigan's offensive line looked very sound, and if they can consistently win their battles, that's a big plus and bodes very well for the Wolverines' offense, both in the air and on the ground today.
Really, the only miscue on that entire first drive was the incompletion from McCarthy on 3rd and 4. That screen pass that just sailed over the head of Donovan Edwards, forcing Michigan to settle for the field goal.
And this is also a game where the teams are so close that mistakes might decide the game, and that first mistake came via Penn State, a 15-yard unnecessary roughness penalty in the first quarter.
And he might have gotten away with another one there just a few minutes later. I mean, Penn State obviously amped up for this game.
Big cheers for Lloyd Carr, the legendary Michigan coach from 1995 to 2007, who's on the lip of the end zone on the field right now, surrounded by a number of his former players.
Support pouring out from the Maize and Blue faithful, but today really just the Maize faithful. Again, Maize out here in Ann Arbor, and what a beautiful scene it is up here from the deck in the big house. I mean, the trees changing. It's starting to turn to fall as we get later into October. You have the very slight view of Chrysler Center to our right-hand side. You've got the IM building over towards our left.
And it's overcast, but the sun is peeking through. The whole student section is soaked in sunlight right now, which is a welcome development on a windy fall day.
I mean, this is perfect fall weather. This is textbook football weather. It looks like something out of a Hallmark movie up here. You've got all the trees changing color, a little bit overcast, as you said, sun poking through. Everyone's happy, everyone's smiling. Couldn't ask for a better day for a top 10 matchup.
So far, so good on Michigan's end. The scoring drive on the first drive of the game via the field goal, and then the 3-and-out on the other end. Big stop by Mike Morris.
We're just about set to go. McCarthy to take the field for the second time today. If you're just tuning in, we'd like to thank you for listening to WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan football live here on YouTube. My name is Charlie Brigham, alongside me, Jared Greenspan. Second half action will be brought to you by Zach Linfield and Adam Bressler. And there's the whistle when we are set to go. It's McCarthy in the gun. Schoonmaker towards his left-hand side. Corum behind him in the gun. Ronnie Bell sent in motion. McCarthy rolling out to his right. Looking down the field, throwing on the run. He's got an open man. It's Cornelius Johnson, and he reels it in at the 50-yard line.
And that is great poise and great decision-making by J.J. McCarthy. He could have hit Schoonmaker in the flat for the shorter gain, but he waited, bided his time, saw he had Johnson open well downfield, and delivered a perfect throw.
We mentioned before the game that Michigan is going to need a few big plays to kind of bust things open, and that one right there, a 35-yard strike on the run from McCarthy to Johnson to set Michigan up in Penn State territory. 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line. McCarthy under center. We'll hand it off to Corum. Nice cut, and he breaks through the line, and he's good for a first down. 2 fantastic jump cuts from Blake Corum right there, making every man in front of him miss. Good for a gain of 9.
And Corum, again, so elusive, so evasive, just slipping his way through the tackles, making something out of nothing, and that's become Blake Corum's staple at this point in the season.
Almost a Euro step from Corum between the tackles there to break the first few, and it'll be 2nd and 1 for Michigan. Double twin sets out wide towards the near sideline. It's Ronnie Bell out wide. McCarthy repositions Corum towards his left. Sends one man in motion. Gets the snap. Handoff Corum again between the tackles. Another nice jump cut. And that one's good for 4 yards and another first down.
Strong block by the freshman Max Bredesen, moving right to left, coming in motion. Really hit his guy hard and allowed Corum to squeak through for the first down.
Roman Wilson will take a jog over to the sideline, so he will be out for this play. 2 receivers out wide for Michigan, 1 on each sideline. It's Cornelius Johnson on the left, and now he'll get sent in motion in sort of a twin set with Ronnie Bell on the near side. 1st and 10, McCarthy sends another man in motion. Play action towards Corum, rolling out to his left, firing deep downfield, just throwing it away. Corum was the nearest receiver, but McCarthy doing a nice job there, just wasting it as the pressure came from Penn State.
Penn State had pressure on McCarthy right away, spun around and did a nice job to throw it away and make sure he threw it far enough out of the reach of the Penn State defenders.
Devon Ellie's there on the pressure for Penn State, so that's going to bring up 2nd and 10. The ball still at the 34-yard line for Michigan. McCarthy in the gun, 3 receivers, and Corum all out to his left-hand side. Dropping back to pass, quick screen pass to Roman Wilson. Gets a nice block to the corner and gets a gain of about 8.
Burst of speed by Roman Wilson, evoking oohs and ahs from the crowd.
You know, if we didn't think that he was healthy after that first drive, he sure looks like it there. We mentioned that quick, just kind of run by you speed that not too many guys have. He has sort of a second gear when he gets in the open field. And it'll be 3rd and 3 for Michigan. Ball on the 27-yard line. Game clock ticking to just about 5 minutes. A.J. Henning sent in motion. McCarthy rolling out to the right. Hits Corum in the flat. That one's good for the first down and maybe more.
Great play call. The deception sending Henning in motion. Draws Penn State defenders to the far side. And then again, McCarthy, nice and easy, tossing it to Corum in the flat for an effortless first down.
Make it first down number 7 on the day for Michigan. And Penn State's going to do a full 4-for-4 swap on that front defensive line.
And the Penn State defense has not really gotten a rest this quarter. The Nittany Lions had a very quick 3-and-out, and it's been all Michigan on the field since.
McCarthy back in the gun, 3 receivers out to the left-hand side. Dropping back to pass, looking towards the middle. Can't find anything, now rolling to his right. Looking towards the end zone again as pressure comes, and he gets blasted as he throws, and it falls incomplete.
In a play like that, it's funny. McCarthy cannot see what's coming from behind him, but he can hear the crowd because the crowd can see it, and the crowd starts oohing and eyeing. A Penn State player breathing down his neck, got rid of the ball just in time. Great coverage, though, by the Nittany Lions secondary.
A balloon flew onto the field during that play. You could see Donovan Edwards kind of pointing out pre-snap. But it'll be 2nd and 10 from the 18. McCarthy in the gun again, 3 receivers to the left, sends Roman Wilson in motion. Handoff to Corum. It was a fake. McCarthy into the open field, breaking towards the sidelines and pushing his way through a defender for a nice gain of 6.
And there is the run game element with J.J. McCarthy, part of the reason how he separated himself from Cade McNamara. The wheels on McCarthy, he's still honing it in and trying to utilize it to his best of his ability. But it's such a weapon when you have a defense that has to key in on Blake Corum, but also has to respect J.J.'s ability to run like he did right there.
3rd and 5 from the 13-yard line, getting senses of deja vu from the possession previously. Michigan missed the screen pass in this same situation before, which led to the field goal, looking to convert here. 3rd and 5. McCarthy dropping back to pass. Has Roman Wilson over the middle, and he's going to be right at that line, and they're going to mark him 2 yards in front of it and give him another first down. Great pass there by McCarthy. Great poise by Roman Wilson to reel it in.
And very similar to something that happened on the first drive, Penn State's defense just giving too much of a cushion in short yardage situations to Roman Wilson, and McCarthy taking what's being given to him just gets the easy first down with an easy completion. And now Michigan knocking on the doorstep.
3:30 left on the clock. 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. Schoonmaker sent in motion. Handoff Corum. Nice move between the tackles, and he gets all the way down to the 2.
Corum carrying Joey Porter Jr. there.
Corum, that low center of gravity, is just so quick. Fights through 2 armed tackles, and then again, that little jump cut that just separates him from the defender, gives him a burst of speed. And now Michigan has 2nd and goal from the 2.
Extra offensive lineman into the game for the Wolverines is Gio El-Hadi.
Max Bredesen, the tight end, playing fullback right now. McCarthy under center. He's going to hand off to Corum. Tries to bounce outside and gets wrapped up for a loss.
And it was El-Hadi who got completely blown up.
Jair Brown, the safety, coming in off a corner blitz to make the play there. And that'll bring up 3rd and goal from the 5.
2 great drives for the Wolverines thus far. Both would end on a sour note if Michigan cannot convert here and would have to settle for another field goal, especially a first quarter where the Wolverines have really controlled the pace of play and the game clock.
McCarthy in the gun, 4 receivers set. Corum in the backfield with him to his left-hand side. The snap rolling out to his right-hand side. Shovel pass to Corum, and he's wrapped up for another loss. This one brings him all the way back to the 6-yard line, and after no gain, Michigan is going to be forced to kick again.
Snuffed out very well by Penn State. Abdul Carter, the linebacker, was the first man there. He read it perfectly. A swarm of white jerseys surrounding Corum, and so for the 2nd time in this game, Michigan marches down the field. This time 12 plays, 77 yards, but the Wolverines have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Possession number 1, they kicked a field goal from the 11. Here, kicking a field goal from the 6-yard line, both on the right hash, but both good from Jake Money Moody, and that puts the Wolverines up 6-0 here in Ann Arbor. There's 1:25 left in the quarter. Michigan up by 6. Penn State, we'll get a few plays before we switch over to the 2nd quarter, but again, late mistakes in that drive by Michigan leads to the field goal rather than 6 points up on the board.
22 total plays for Michigan, 3 for Penn State. Michigan has had the ball for 11 minutes and 27 seconds. Penn State just 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Through those numbers, the disparity on the scoreboard should be so much bigger than 6-0, but that's the reality that the Wolverines are in right now. 2 drives stalling in the red zone, and Penn State very much alive in this game early on. They might feel like they're buried, but they're really not. 1 score, and the Nittany Lions all of a sudden are in front.
Back-to-back possessions where Michigan has a big play or catches a break. That first possession was the unnecessary roughness penalty that gave him a gain of pretty much 20 yards on a 3-yard completion. And then on this last drive, McCarthy, that brilliant 35-yard strike on the run that put them in enemy territory on 1 play, and Michigan unable to put it in the end zone. Has to settle for field goals on both possessions. We've mentioned before the game, just continue to harp on it, how important points are in a tough game like this. And, those could be the difference maker. It sounds cliche, but in a game like this, if Penn State scores a touchdown here, they're out in front. Michigan has scored on both of their possessions, but those field goals realistically won't matter.
So it's a 13-play, 77-yard drive for the Wolverines that took up 6 minutes and 10 seconds of clock, culminating in a 24-yard field goal from Jake Moody, his 2nd of the game. And now the Michigan defense, well rested, gets back on the field against the Penn State offense. Advantage in round 1 went to the Wolverines. Forced a crucial 3-and-out with Mike Morris securing the stop on a tackle for loss in the backfield. Penn State with Sean Clifford in a dynamic rushing attack led by Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, figured to pose a lot of problems for the Wolverines. After 1 drive at least, it's so far so good on that front. The defense staked to a 6-0 lead.
Again, as we enter the final minute of the first quarter, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan football live here on YouTube. If you like what you hear and want to hear more from WCBN Sports, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon to be notified anytime we go live so you never miss a broadcast. Also, make sure to head on over to our second channel, WCBN Sports 2. If we have two broadcasts going on simultaneously, one will get bumped over there. We have so many broadcasts coming up with postseason for field hockey and soccer coming up, as well as more football games down the line. But with that, it'll be Jake Moody to kick off into the wind. 1:25 left to play here in quarter number 1. It's going to be Nicholas Singleton back deep to receive for Penn State. Their star running back is going to be trying to take one to the house here. Sun starts to poke through the clouds a little bit more, but the wind picks up. Moody had the ball blown off the tee once. Taking his steps now, the crowd getting loud here in Ann Arbor. There's the whistle. Moody checks with his men, and now set to kick it away. The wind holds this one up. It won't get to the end zone. In fact, it'll land at the 10-yard line. Singleton has nothing but green grass, but Michigan quickly closes that gap and wraps him up at about the 26-yard line.
Colston Loveland, the first man there, the freshman tight end manning special teams.
So it'll be Penn State ball from the 28-yard line. Sean Clifford going to have to go to work again. They went 3 and out on their first drive. Obviously going to look for a little bit more production here. Penn State only 8 total yards of offense so far, those 8 coming on the Sean Clifford pass to Washington, where he fought his way through what should have been pretty much a 3-yard reception, Jared, that we mentioned, that he just dragged defenders with him all the way for a gain of 8. Luckily, Michigan able to hold them steady from there.
Raucous ovation for Charles Woodson, honored on the field now. Of course, Woodson, a part of that famous 1997 national championship team. A constant presence in Ann Arbor over the years. Of course, also a part of the Fox Big Noon kickoff coverage, so he's in town anyway on double duty today for Charles Woodson.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Woodson always in town, always interacting with fans, not afraid to, take selfies with students right along that wall in the student section. Just a great guy, a great Michigan guy. Loves this university, loves this program.
So thinking back to Penn State's opening drive a little bit, only 3 plays to analyze, 2 rushes and 1 pass for the Nittany Lions. They're going to look to assert themselves on the ground with Singleton and Allen, the 2-headed monster in the backfield. That's really been Penn State's bread and butter, along with solid performances by Sean Clifford. But if the Nittany Lions are going to walk out of the big house with a win today, they're going to hang their hats on a dominant rushing attack, Singleton and Allen. We didn't see Allen on the first drive. Singleton got 2 carries. 1 went for 1 yard. 1 went for -1 yards.
That'll be Sean Clifford back out there. Again, Penn State will start with the ball at the 28-yard line. 1 minute and 20 seconds left here in the first quarter of play. He's got the wind at his back, so wouldn't be surprised to see him take a shot before he flips the script, and will have to go into these gusty winds in the second quarter.
1 minute 20 left here in the first quarter as the media timeout winds to a close. Both teams taking the field right now.
Well, I've got a bit of time. One more shameless self-promotion. If you like what you hear from WCBN Sports, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter so you can be kept up to date with all the happenings here within the station.
Our new Instagram account.
True. Our fans grow loud as a graphic of J.J. McCarthy says get loud over the Jumbotron. The pom-poms start to wave. The fans start to yell. It's going to be Sean Clifford in the backfield in the shotgun. He's got Katron Allen to his right hand tied, sends a man in motion. The snap, handoff to Allen, and he's going to be met right at the line of scrimmage, spinning for maybe a yard or two. Put his head down as just as Donovan Edwards did earlier, making sure to fall forward.
And Colson, the first man to meet him. Same exact play happened the first Penn State drive. Colson met Singleton right at the line, this time bursting through the hole, meeting Allen, holding him to a gain of 3.
2nd and 7 from the 31-yard line. Under a minute left to play here in the quarter. 4-man front for the Wolverines. Clifford in the gun again. Man set in motion. It's going to be a quarterback draw. Tried to fake the screen pass, and he's brought down behind the line of scrimmage.
And that's Jalen Harrell. Did a great job of reading that play. Was going up against Caden Wallace along the right side of that line. Scooted by Wallace and tripped up Clifford just enough. If he didn't get him, Mike Barrett was right there. He had that play covered well.
3rd and 9. Penn State going empty, and now Singleton called in to be a man in the backfield for Clifford. Goes up to the line to audible. It is loud here in Ann Arbor. 10 seconds left in the quarter now. Clifford unable to get his men together. Clock ticking down. 4 seconds left on the play clock. Penn State can't get it together here. Going to have to snap it, just barely getting it off as the clock goes. Flag on the outside, completed pass, and he's brought down after a gain of 1.
Penn State had a world of trouble there, but it might be offside on Michigan. The Wolverines might be bailing them out. Clifford went to the line of scrimmage 3 times. They could not hear anything, and yet it's offside on the Wolverines. It's on Mike Morris, and so it'll be 3rd and 4. A phantom play coming up. The clock reads all zeros, but the quarter will be extended for one more play following the penalty. So now this crowd has to get all out again.
It'll be 3rd and 4. Last play of the quarter, as Jared mentioned. The clock is dead here. It's Clifford empty in the backfield. 3 receivers out to his right-hand side, 2 to his left, and now Singleton brought into the backfield. 5-man front for the Wolverines. 1 safety back. Man-to-man coverage on the outside. Clifford dropping back to pass. Pressure coming early, and it falls incomplete. Right there in the backfield was Mike Morris again.
Mike Barrett, Mccarthy Page both blitzing. It worked wonders. Great call by Jesse Minter. And the Wolverines avoid disaster after lining up offsides on the 3rd and 9. That was Mccarthy Page who drove Clifford into the ground first, forcing a rushed throw off his back foot. And Michigan's defense holds strong again.
The pom-poms wave after the 3rd down stop. And that'll bring us to the second quarter of action as we head to quarter number 2. Michigan 6, Penn State nothing.
This game, as advertised so far, the score is 6-0, but it's really been one-sided. Michigan's defense has forced a pair of 3-and-outs, and Michigan's offense has marched down the field twice, and yet it's only 6-0 because the Wolverines stalled each time in the red zone, limiting themselves to just 2 field goals.
Yeah, Michigan unable to capitalize deep in the red zone again, kicking the first field goal from the 11, the second one from the 6-yard line. But their defense has held strong and done what they needed to do. Penn State unable to get a first down yet so far. They'll have to kick it away. It'll be 4th and 4 as they punt it back to the Michigan offense. Looking around the world of college football right now in the top 25, number 9 Ole Miss leads Auburn with 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter, 14-0. At the end of the first quarter, number 19 Kansas tied 14-14 with Oklahoma. Iowa State leads number 22 Texas 7-0 at the end of the first. The number 24th ranked Illini up 10-0 over Big Ten opponent Minnesota. Those are the only games happening right now within the top 25. Later Big Ten games today, Maryland, Indiana play at 3:30, Wisconsin, MSU at 4. And the night game today on BTN, Nebraska facing off against the Purdue Boilermakers.
Really went all out for the night game this week. Primetime Cornhuskers.
A 3-3 Cornhuskers team versus a 4-2 Purdue team.
How about ranked Illinois up to a 10-0 lead? Shaping up to maybe being a ranked showdown a couple weeks here in Ann Arbor.
Jared, I have a question for you. Somebody asked me yesterday. I didn't really know how I feel about it. So Illinois currently 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the Big Ten. If Illinois wins out, do you think there's a shot that they make the college football playoff?
Does that include winning the Big Ten championship?
Yes.
Who was their loss to?
That is a good question. Let's check it right now. Illinois' one loss came to Indiana, 23-20.
3 points could be separating itself, an undefeated season. So in theory, if Illinois were to win out in this complete hypothetical, the Illini would have wins in Michigan and presumably in the Big Ten championship against either Michigan again or Ohio State.
So
feels like a win over Michigan and Ohio State is enough to make up for a loss to Indiana.
Right at that point, you would have only one loss on your record and 2 big wins over, powerhouse programs.
So
I think a case could be made.
I don't know if they would get in, but in that world, we would be living in a reality where Brett Bielema would be leading a one-loss Illinois team, or should be leading a one-loss Illinois team, into the college football playoff.
There is a world where this happens. It does exist.
Back to the game at hand. We'll continue our Illinois discourse next media timeout. Penn State is set to punt. Armour is standing at his own 20-yard line. The ball is at the Penn State 34. Deep to receive for the Wolverines at his own 21.5 is A.J. Henning. Armour gets the punt away. It's a short kick. Henning's going to let it bounce at the 27. He'll let it roll back to the 30, and it's downed right there.
Almost a dangerous little bit of shenanigans there on that near sideline. Joe Taylor, the gunner for Michigan on the outside, fell down and the ball rolled dangerously close to him, almost bounced off his leg.
So it's a short 36-yard punt for Barney Amore. Michigan offense back on the field for the third time today to begin this second quarter. 1st and 10 from the Wolverines' 30-yard line. Michigan up 6-0. McCarthy in the backfield with Edwards behind him, now motions to flank him on his right. 2 wide receivers split each side. JJ gets a snap, slings near side, caught by Ronnie Bell, and Ronnie Bell is spun out of bounds at the 34-yard line.
Nice play there. Kalen King crashing hard from the corner to wrap up Ronnie Bell.
They'll give Bell one more additional yard. He was spun forward, so it's 2nd and 5 for the Wolverines. We'll see if third time's the charm for Michigan when it comes to finding the end zone. 2 drives, 2 field goals so far makes this a 6-0 ball game. 2nd and 5 at Michigan's 35-yard line. 2 wide receivers split to the left. Now Roman Wilson in motion to the right. McCarthy hands off for Edwards, works his way forward, nothing doing, a gain of 1, and it'll set up 3rd and 4 from the 36 for Michigan.
Nice job by that Penn State front 4, just closing up everything. Nice patient running by Donovan Edwards, putting his hand on Luke Schoonmaker's back, trying to find a gap, but the Nittany Lions just collapsed.
Nick Tarberton, the big defensive end, makes the stop, so 3rd and 4 for Michigan. Wolverines 3 for 5 on third downs this far. 2 wide receivers split each side. Corum next to McCarthy, standing to his right. Wilson and Johnson to the far side. Bell and Schoonmaker to the near side. McCarthy drops back, gets the snap. 5-man rush, slings near side, caught Ronnie Bell, turns upfield 45-50, and he ducks out of bounds. 1st down and more. A pickup of 14 yards for Ronnie Bell.
Beautiful route there by Ronnie Bell. Just couldn't quite turn the corner, pushed out of bounds by Kalen King. But all in all, a nice gain there for Michigan and another 1st down, their 9th of the ball game.
3rd catch of the game for Ronnie Bell. That one goes for 15. Michigan in plus territory again. 1st and 10 at the Nittany Lions' 49-yard line. Johnson, the low man to the right side. 2 wide receivers split near side. Wilson now in motion to the far side. Edwards the back, or Corum the back. JJ drops back, play action. McCarthy has plenty of time. Now under pressure and hurls it away. Nearly picked off, but he threw it over the top of a man to Corum. Makes the catch at the 43-yard line and steps out of bounds. JJ McCarthy on his way to the ground, threw off his back foot. Just got it over the top of a Penn State defender and into the lap of Blake Corum, living very dangerously.
It almost looked like JJ was trying to throw it away there, just on his way completely horizontal. Couldn't quite get the power to get it out. but just so happens to fall into the hands of Blake Corum. Also highlighted on that possession, Ronnie Bell was streaking down the middle of the field open for a minute before having to dart to the sideline as JJ fell under pressure.
It's a gain of 7. McCarthy gets the snap, fires near side, caught in the flat by Bell. The play's busted up in the backfield as Loveland and Schoonmaker couldn't make their blocks in time. A few Penn State players in the backfield, including Kalen King and Dominic DeLuca, the linebacker. And so it's another third down, 3rd and 2 for Michigan.
Nice play there by DeLuca, just scraping down the line of scrimmage and making the play on the much quicker Ronnie Bell in the open flat.
Wolverines could be in 4-down territory here. 3rd and 2 at the 41-yard line of Penn State. JJ under center. One receiver to the near side. Blake Corum the back. McCarthy hands off Corum, running left. Corum drags a tackler. He's got the first down and then some. Gain of 5 for Blake Corum. First down, Wolverines.
Corum is not big. He's maybe 5'8", 5'9". He just met P.J. Mustipher head on in the open field. Mustipher is an absolute unit of a man at that defensive tackle position for Penn State. Corum not afraid of him at all, just puts his head down and gains that extra yard.
Anthony and Bell split to the far side. Donovan Edwards the back. Standing a few yards behind McCarthy. Gets the snap. Handoff. Edwards running right. Edwards has a hole. 25, and he's knocked to the ground at the 24-yard line. Big pickup of 12 for Donovan Edwards. It's another first down for Michigan.
You know, we speak to the excellence of Blake Corum as one of the best running backs in the country, but his running back 2, Michigan's running back 2, is Donovan Edwards, who would start at a lot of Power 5 programs in this country. He is an excellent back, and the future of Michigan football is incredibly bright with him and J.J. McCarthy in the backfield.
Edwards the back again behind McCarthy. Bredesen in motion. McCarthy running right. It's a QB run. JJ cuts in 20, and JJ nearly found the end zone, but he's knocked down at the 15-yard line. The hole was there. The only Penn State defender was Khalil Dinkins, or Jair Brown, rather, and he prevented a touchdown because blockers were there. So 2nd and 2, McCarthy settles for a gain of 8.
What a play by Brown there to just sprawl out and just grab the ankles of J.J. McCarthy. It looked like he had nothing but green grass in front of him.
2nd and 2 for the Wolverines. 2 wide receivers, Johnson and Bell, split to the near side. Now Bell in motion. Corum's the back. McCarthy gets the snap, hands off Bell. Corum running right. Corum cuts inside. He's got the first down and is down at the 11-yard line. Gain of 5.
High IQ run there by Blake Corum. Saw the open hole through the middle, might have been able to push his way through for an extra yard, but decides to bounce it outside and stretch it enough for a first down. Ball's in the 11, so Michigan isn't quite in 1st and goal territory.
And the Penn State player down on the field right now is Jair Brown, who we were lauding a moment ago for his great open field tackle on J.J. McCarthy that probably prevented a touchdown. So he's being tended to by Penn State trainers. We'll take a media timeout. Michigan up 6-0, driving for the 3rd time today. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines on the Penn State 11-yard line on the other end of this timeout. 9:57 left in the 2nd quarter in this maze out in Ann Arbor. It looks phenomenal amidst the backdrop of fall trees and a splattering of maize throughout the stadium. Everyone wearing maize despite the cold weather. Let's run you through some of the other top 25 matchups at the moment during this timeout as Brown walks himself off the field under his own power, which is good to see. Down in Mississippi, it's the 9th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels on top of Auburn 14-0. Kansas, everyone's favorite story, currently down 21-14 to Oklahoma. The Sooners vying for their first Big 12 win on the season. And then Iowa State at 3-3 and 0-3 in the Big 12 is up early against Texas 7-0. So that's 2 teams, the Sooners and the Cyclones, yet to win a Big 12 game. Currently on top, both those games early in the 2nd quarter. And then everyone's favorite, Illinois, and Brett Bielema potentially vying for a college football playoff berth down the road, up 10-7 over the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. That game early in the 2nd quarter as well.
There was some questioning in your voice there, Jared, like you didn't quite believe in the Fighting Illini.
Talk to me in a few hours. We'll see if they win today. One game at a time for the Illini.
Very, very true.
And then, of course, the game on everyone's calendar is 6-0 Michigan over Penn State. 10:01 left in the second quarter. They added 4 seconds back onto the clock. Michigan's defense has been stellar. Michigan's offense has been great, except when it's in the red zone. We'll see if the Wolverines can buck that trend. On the other end of this media timeout, they'll have it at the Nittany Lions' 11-yard line. Quick run through the box score here. J.J. McCarthy, 12 of 15 with 102 yards. It's a solid 137.1 quarterback rating. Ronnie Bell, the leading receiver, 4 catches for 25 yards. Roman Wilson with 23 yards, good to see, and Cornelius Johnson with that one big 35-yard catch and another 4-yarder as well. Blake Corum, 10 carries, 51 yards on the ground. Donovan Edwards has made an impact, 4 carries for 19 yards, and J.J. McCarthy with 2 designed QB runs has 13 yards. And then Jake Moody, good to see him bang 2 field goals through after getting one blocked last week. So both teams on the field right now, Penn State in the all-whites, Michigan in the all-blues with the maize lettering and numbering. Ronnie Bell split to the far side, Blake Corum to the near side, J.J. McCarthy alone as the quarterback. 6-0 Wolverines, Michigan looking to stake itself to an even larger lead. Corum comes in motion. He'll now stand behind McCarthy, who goes under center. JJ gets the snap, handoff Corum. Corum up the middle. Corum lowers his shoulder, and he drags tacklers to the 4-yard line. Blake Corum, gain of 7. 2nd and 3 for the Wolverines, again knocking on the doorstep.
Nice hole formed there by the Michigan O-line. Curtis Jacobs, the linebacker, came up to fill the hole, and again, Corum just met him head on and dragged him for a few extra yards.
Ronnie Bell, the lone receiver, split out left. Corum in the backfield. Bredesen next to McCarthy as well. Corum standing behind him. McCarthy gets a snap, handoff Corum, lowers his shoulder, squeaks his way to the 2-yard line. Did not pick up the first down, so it's 3rd and 1 from the 2-yard line for the Wolverines.
Yeah, again, this set of downs started from the 11-yard line, so we're not in 3rd and goal territory yet. 1 yard will give him a fresh set of 4.
Hurry up for Michigan. Corum up the middle, leaping. I don't know if he got to the end zone. He definitely got the first down. And Michigan can get a fresh set of downs. Blake Corum from the 2-yard line tried leaping over the pile, and it worked. He got the first down. 1st and goal for Michigan. The Wolverines looking to hurry up again. Penn State has way too many players on the field. They get 2 off at the last second. McCarthy gets the snap, but first the referees blow it dead. I believe James Franklin called a timeout. Penn State in all sorts of disarray. Michigan running the hurry-up offense, really getting Penn State out of sorts, and they're knocking on the door of making this a 13-0 ball game. And now a little scuffle after the play here. Michigan and Penn State players having to be separated right at the goal line.
Yeah, Penn State was just an absolute shambles right there. They had, as you mentioned, way too many people on the field. We're trying to throw 2 guys off at the same time. The secondary still had no idea what was going on. Michigan was very methodical the entire first quarter, calling sets, taking their time at the line of scrimmage, using the play clock, and then these last 3 plays down inside the 5-yard line. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Penn State had no idea how to handle it.
After that quick 30-second timeout, both teams retake the field. Honigford and Schoonmaker out there as tight ends for the Wolverines, as is Bredesen. Bell splits to the near side. He's by himself. Corum standing to the left of McCarthy at the 5-yard line. It's 1st and goal from the 1 for Michigan. McCarthy gets the snap, handoff, Corum up the middle, and into the end zone. I don't see a signal yet, but this surely is a touchdown. Referees coming in. Blake Corum is well beyond the pylon. He's in! Touchdown, Michigan! And it's 12-0 Wolverines.
Excellent run there by Blake Corum. I mean, that is just smash mouth football. Corum has that blazing open field speed, that run by you speed, but he is not afraid to put his head down and push through that pile.
And that's a tremendous drive for the Wolverines all the way down the field. 13 plays, 70 yards. They'll review the touchdown from our vantage point. It sure looked like Blake Corum got in. It was first and goal from the 1-yard line. With Blake Corum, that seems like a pretty safe bet. As it stands now, it's 12-0 Michigan. Review and extra point pending.
I would be absolutely shocked if this was somehow overturned. Since it was ruled a touchdown, obviously you need that inconclusive evidence that it wasn't a touchdown. And, I mean, that was just a dog pile. Corum hit that pile with a full head of steam. Everyone was pushing him into the end zone. I don't think you're going to be able to decipher anyone's legs out from that pile to see if maybe or not a knee was down. I mean, they showed the replay up there, and I have no idea.
Corum was definitely hit at the line of scrimmage by Chop Robinson, the defensive end for Penn State, but it sure looked like he fell forward. And again, just that massive pile of humans and weight. It's really hard to tell. You need that indisputable, inconclusive video evidence to overturn the call on the field, which was touchdown for Blake Corum.
If the call is overturned, it'll be 2nd and goal from the 1, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan just give it to Blake Corum again and let him run the exact same play.
And it does stand. It's a touchdown for Michigan. Blake Corum finds the end zone for the 12th time on the year. And Michigan, after stalling in the red zone the first 2 drives of this game, well, 3rd time is the charm. It's 12-0. Jake Moody's on the field looking to knock home the extra point. And this has just been a domineering game for the Wolverines so far. 196 total yards to 9, just 9 for Penn State with 8:29 to go in the second quarter. Extra points on the way for Moody, knocks it right through. Old Reliable makes it 13-0 Michigan. This has been very close to a perfect start for the Wolverines in this top 10 showdown.
Yeah, the only reason this isn't a 3-touchdown lead for Michigan is because of maybe 2 mistakes from the Wolverines. One on each of their first 2 drives, the incompletion from McCarthy that forced that field goal, and then just some miscommunication on that shovel pass that led to Blake Corum having not a single blocker in front of him.
And I think we saw on that last drive Penn State's defense really getting worn down a little bit, not only with Michigan's rushing attack and some of the fast tempo that the Wolverines deployed, but just look at the time disparity. 17 minutes and 47 seconds. That's how much time that the Wolverines have had the ball. Just 3:44 for Penn State. It's a lot of time for Penn State's defense to be on the field against a very talented, high-octane Michigan offense.
Yeah, I mean, almost half of that was that last minute of the first quarter that Penn State moved the ball, I think, 1 total yard. They just haven't been able to get anything going on the offensive end. That will have to change quickly if they hope to even stay in this ball game.
And it's a crucial drive, very crucial drive, even though it's early in the second quarter, upcoming for Penn State. The Nittany Lions have been completely knocked back on their heels here in a raucous atmosphere, a maze out here at the Big House. Penn State needs something positive, something to go their way here, in particular points. And it's up to Sean Clifford, the veteran quarterback. He's been in these big game atmospheres. The Nittany Lions will need him to deliver here. They've yet to get their potent rushing attack doing much of anything in this game. Michigan's defense has been up to the task on the 6-7 plays that have been run so far.
No matter what here, if you're Penn State, you need to put points on the board. Settle for the field goal if you need to, but you can't let this one get out of hand. As it currently sits, it's a 2-possession game. Michigan leads 13-0. A pair of field goals and a touchdown on that last drive. A 1-yard run from Blake Corum to push them out in front.
If you're Penn State and James Franklin, I think you spin it this way. They're lucky to only be down 13-0. This game could very well be 21-0 with the way that the Wolverines have moved the ball all the way down the field on all 3 of their drives. So the door is not closed on Penn State. There's a long way to go, and this is only a 2-score game.
Just let's look at J.J. McCarthy so far throughout this game. 12 for 15, 102 yards, 80% completion percentage, 137.1 QBR. I mean, he's been fantastic. Only 3 incompletions, one of which he was throwing the ball away. You know, there was that obvious one that he just straight out missed Donovan Edwards in the flats, but other than that, he has been so good so far in this ball game.
Jake Moody set to kick it up for the Wolverines. Nick Singleton, the deep man for Penn State. 13-0 Wolverines, 8:29 left here in the second quarter. Top 10 showdown, Big Ten heavyweights vying for the win here in Ann Arbor. A crisp fall day, sun has broken through. Beautiful day for football, and so far so good for the Wolverines. Moody boots it away, kicking with the wind, and that's going to sail beyond Singleton. One hops into the arms of the staffer waiting to collect the football. It'll be a touchback, and Penn State will begin its third drive of the game at their own 25-yard line.
Jared, somehow fans are still managing to pile their way into the Big House today. This is the most full I've seen it in a long, long time. Cannot wait to show the attendance up there on the board.
Definitely the most full game of the season, and it's about to get very, very loud in here. Sean Clifford starts off in the gun. Two wide receivers split to his left, three to the near side. Now a man in motion. It's the tight end to the far side. Clifford drops back. Michigan brings 4. Clifford double pumps and overshoots his man on the near side, looking for Washington. It sails incomplete. Jamon Green in coverage.
Great coverage there by Jamon Green. Might have had a shot at that ball potentially. Didn't really look for the ball, was more so looking to break it up if it found the hands of the receiver.
3 wide receivers split to the near side for Penn State, 1 to the far side, and Katron Allen, the running back, adjacent to Clifford on his left. Clifford goes to the center, calls something out in the Michigan defense. Clifford gets the snap, drops back, 4-man rush over the middle, and making the catch and dragging his way close to the first down marker is Brendan Strange, the tight end. Rod Moore was there in coverage up from the safety. Hit him first, but Strange able to drag him for a couple yards. 3rd and 1, Penn State's doing hurry up from the 34-yard line. Clifford gets the snap, hands off up the middle. Or no, he keeps it. Clifford in the clear. Clifford 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. Clifford is going to be dragged down at the 4-yard line. Sean Clifford on the keeper. An unbelievable play. Had everyone in the stadium fooled. And Penn State has flipped the switch of this game. DJ Turner chasing him down from the far side to prevent a touchdown. And the Nittany Lions ready to go again. Clifford gets the snap. Hands off for Allen, running right into a wall, and he's down at the 1-yard line. This game has totally been turned on its head with that run by Sean Clifford, 62 yards.
We talked about it the entire pregame. Sean Clifford is not afraid to use his legs. He doesn't have blinding speed, but he's a great decision maker. Read the defensive end, broke it through the open field, and was eventually dragged down, but not before he picked up 62 yards for the Nittany Lions.
Allen, the running back again, he stands behind Clifford, a receiver split each side. Now Allen moves to Clifford's left. 2nd and 2 from the 2. Clifford drops back, lobs it to the far side, and he overshot his man, DJ Turner, in coverage, looking for Parker Washington, who wanted a flag, but it's incomplete. So now 3rd and 2 for Penn State from the 2-yard line.
Jared, do you think this is 4-down territory for Penn State?
I do. I think they had an explosive play. They have Michigan's defense a little rattled. You don't know when you're going to get this close to the end zone again if you're Penn State. 2 wide receivers to the far side, 1 to the near side. Allen the back. Washington in motion to the near side. Clifford runs left. It's a QB run. Clifford looking for the pylon. Got hit. He's right near the goal line. He's down short. They'll mark him at the half-yard line. And here's your question, Charlie. Is it 4-down territory for Penn State?
It has to be. You're at literally the half-yard line.
Mike Sandwer still hit him first. It's 4th and 1 for Penn State. From the 1-yard line, Michigan's defense looking for a stand. Clifford under center. Allen to his right. 2 wide receivers split near side. Now 1 motion. Clifford drops back, hands off Allen running left into the end zone. Touchdown, Penn State. The Nittany Lions get just what the doctor ordered, the huge third down run from Clifford, and then on 4th and 1, James Franklin rolls the dice, and it's Katron Allen slipping into the end zone for a Nittany Lion touchdown.
7-play, 75-yard drive, 62 of those coming from the legs of Sean Clifford. Jared, before that drive, Penn State was not only scoreless, they had 9 total yards of offense.
A resounding answer by Penn State, exactly what they needed to stay in this game. The extra point is good, and just like that, the stadium feels a little punctured. It's 13-7, the Nittany Lions right in this ball game.
We mentioned before the game that both teams are going to have to look to the big play every once in a while to keep them in this ball game, and Sean Clifford brought it.
And back to that Clifford play, the pivotal 62-yard run. It was a read option. The Michigan defender went for the running back, and then Clifford juked out one man in the backfield, and no one was there. The safety, Rod Moore, made the wrong read as well. DJ Cherner preventing the touchdown with the tackle, but only momentarily, because the Penn State Nittany Lions get in the end zone via Katron Allen. James Franklin with the 4th and 1 gamble proves to be the right call. And if you're Michigan now, the Wolverines are in a position where their offense has been great all day, 3 very long drives, and you almost feel like they really need a 4th here.
Yeah, touchdown here puts you right back in the position you had just a couple minutes ago as Aiden Hutchinson steps out onto the field. Winner of the 2021 Lot Impact Trophy. As you can hear the crowd in Ann Arbor giving him a welcome reception back to the big house. Hutchinson, obviously taken by the Detroit Lions in the NFL draft, has been very solid for the Lions this year so far as a rookie in their struggling season, but great for Hutchinson to be able to stay home here in Michigan.
13-7 Michigan on top, 6:11 to go in the first half. It has been all Wolverines except for about one play, really. That 62-yard scamper by Sean Clifford on the read option has made all the difference today.
Yeah, that big play from Clifford was, as you mentioned, really the only thing Penn State's been able to do on offense. I mean, even down at the 2-yard line, they had to go all the way to 4th down to finally punch it into the end zone. So they haven't been able to get much going on the offensive end. Michigan just has to keep those big plays to a minimum.
And just to harp on the gravity of the Clifford run, it was 3rd and 1. Penn State, if it stopped there, has to punt for its 3rd straight time to open the game. Michigan's offense finally broke its end zone curse after getting a field goal on the first 2 drives, is up 13-0, rolling, getting the ball back again. The crowd is electric. Pretty much everything would have been going against Penn State, and that Clifford run totally changed the tenor of this game. So the Nittany Lions now to kick it off. Deep to receive is A.J. Henning for the Wolverines. Jake Pinniger for the kickoff. 6:11 to go in the first half. Michigan up 13-7 here in this pivotal top 10 matchup. Pinniger unleashes the kick. It's a high kick, but a short kick. Henning comes on, makes the catch at the 10-yard line. He's got room to run. A.J. Henning at the 20, spins his way to the 25, and now down at the 29-yard line. Falling forward, or actually they'll mark him back where he first hit the turf. Not sure if it'll be at the 26. So 1st and 10 for Michigan. The offense coming on the field for the 4th time today. J.J. McCarthy has played a splendid ball game, throwing 12 of 15 for 102 yards. And Blake Corum, his usual self, 14 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. It's Donovan Edwards out on the field first, though, flanking McCarthy to his right. 2 wide receivers split to the near side, Johnson and Bell. McCarthy gets the snap, drops back, four-man rush, plenty of time, fires deep down the near side, looking for Bell, makes the catch. Was he in? No. Caught it around the 45-yard line, but he did not get any one of his feet in first before being out of bounds.
Keaton Ellis right there on the coverage for Penn State. Might have been a little bit of contact, but more so just running Ronnie Bell out of bounds. As they show the replay, just out of bounds. I mean, that is inches away from being another huge gain from McCarthy.
And so Michigan will play on. Edwards behind McCarthy. Anthony and Johnson, the two receivers on the field. 2nd and 10 from the 26. The handoff is to Edwards up the middle. Edwards cuts left. Edwards uses a stiff arm still on his feet. 40-45. Cuts back inside at the 50 and tackled out of bounds at the 49-yard lines. There's a nice explosive run by Donovan Edwards. And it's Dominic DeLuca again who makes the stop.
What a run there by Donovan Edwards. I mean, just cutting, stopping on a dime, letting defenders run right by him, and using that blazing speed to bust it open in the open field.
Corum into the game now. It's a 25-yard run for Edwards. 3 receivers split to the far side. McCarthy flanked by Corum. 1st and 10 Wolverines. Quick throw is dropped by Roman Wilson. A little far in front of him. Went to the far side in a bit of a bubble screen sort of play. It'll be 2nd and 10.
It's ironic that most of McCarthy's incompletions so far have came on screen passes. Meanwhile, he's throwing 35-yard dots to the sideline while on the run.
It's the easy throws that are tripping him up today. Catchable for Wilson, but a little out in front of him. McCarthy could have made it easier. 2nd and 10 from the 49. Michigan in Penn State territory again. Corum next to McCarthy. He'll get the handoff running right up the middle. And he's still churning and falls forward to the 42-yard line. Blake Corum disappeared for a second in that pile of mass and then slipped through for a solid gain of 8.
Chop Robinson met him right at the line. It seemed like Corum was dead in his tracks. Looks like he was going to have maybe even a loss there, but somehow spins out of it for a gain of 8. And now to bring up 3rd and 2.
Curious field position again here for the Wolverines at the 41, possibly 4-down territory. It's Corum next to McCarthy. Now McCarthy goes under center, and Corum will stand behind him. 1 wide receiver split each side. Bell in motion to the near side. McCarthy rolls right, fires, and it's tipped and incomplete. And are they going to say it's a fumble? Penn State running down the sideline and all the way into the end zone. It's Curtis Jacobs.
I don't think that ball ever hit the ground. It got tipped and then tipped again.
And Michigan Stadium is stunned. Let's watch the replay. It was tipped. It went off a helmet and was intercepted. It went off the helmet of P.J. Mustafer and then picked up and taken all the way to the house. And the Nittany Lions have stunned the Wolverines. 2 huge plays, and they're up 14-13 if they can knock home the extra point. Curtis Jacobs with the pick 6.
A sort of broken play from the start there. McCarthy got tripped up at the line of scrimmage, just trying to roll out to his right-hand side, and then just tip drill executed to a T.
The extra point is good, and a freak play allows Penn State to take a stunning 14-13 lead. Let's walk you through that play one more time. It was 3rd and 2 for the Wolverines from the Penn State 41-yard line. J.J. McCarthy rolled to his right and was looking for Blake Corum in the flat. Corum was well covered, and the pass was broken up and tipped in the air by Dominion Robinson. McCarthy looking for Corum. The ball then pinballed off the helmet of defensive tackle P.J. Mustafer and was scooped out of the air by Curtis Jacobs, plucking it in stride and running down the sideline. McCarthy was the one who got closest to him at about the 10-yard line, but Jacobs, the linebacker, took it to the house. And it's 14-13 Penn State, an absolutely stunning scene in the Big House.
Jared, not only is it 14-13 Penn State, not even 4 minutes ago, Penn State had 9 total yards of offense. What a swing and what a surge from Penn State here to take the lead with 4.5 minutes left in the half.
We were talking how the tenor of the game had completely changed after the 62-yard run by Clifford. If the tenor had changed again, the whole complexion is different now. Penn State is winning this game, which is almost unfathomable considering where the Nittany Lions were by game clock-wise just 3 or 4 minutes ago.
Mistakes from Michigan are what have kept Penn State in this game. Could have been a 21-0 ball game. Instead, it was 13-0. Then an interception, or more so than a misread and a misplay by both the defensive end and the safety allows Sean Clifford to scamper for 62 yards. Penn State punches in the end zone, making it 13-7. And then an interception turned pick 6 makes the game 14-13.
And at this moment, if you're Michigan, you're kicking yourself for a lot of reasons, but it has to be most so for those 2 opening drives. The first drive of the game and the second drive where Michigan marched down the field and had to settle for field goals. One time McCarthy overthrew the screen pass looking for Edwards, and another time the drive just bottomed out. Michigan had to settle for field goals when it could have conceivably built a 21-0 lead, and now it's looking at the scoreboard and seeing itself at the wrong end of it.
Again, what a swing. But props to Penn State here. I mean, you have to respect their resilience. We knew they were coming to this ball game to fight hard. It got a little bit chippy earlier, but the Nittany Lions never turned away, and they fought their way back. 14-13 in favor of Penn State here. And they will kick it off.
The Wolverines came out of the gates ruthless. They've racked up 229 yards of total offense. Penn State is just 84. 62 have come on one play, and the Nittany Lions are winning, and that's a credit to James Franklin and the Penn State team up and down the roster for not being fazed by the environment and the situation. Down 13-0, held strong on that drive after Michigan had scored the touchdown. We said it was so crucial, and Penn State delivered, getting the touchdown they needed. And then the defense, battered and bruised all day, gets the huge play to swing the pendulum totally in their favor.
Penn State with the 1-point lead right now. As you mentioned, Jared, they have 84 total yards of offense. If you take away the big Sean Clifford play and the pick 6, Penn State is at 22 total yards of offense and no points on the board.
Gabriel Nwosu will kick it, not Jake Pinegar on this play. A.J. Henning is back deep, and the kick is on the way. Angles toward the far side, and that is going to sail out of bounds. And the Wolverines will have very advantageous field position to start off as they look to get their feet back under them. Let's see how J.J. McCarthy responds. Hasn't faced a whole lot of adversity at all this situation. This is far and away the most adverse situation he's been in this season, having just thrown that, fluke or not, it was a pick 6, and Michigan is down, having squandered a 13-0 lead in front of a stunned crowd at the Big House.
Yeah, fans are definitely going to get their money's worth today. A 1-point ball game as we're closing in on the second half.
1st and 10 from the 35. Corum the back. 2 receivers split to the near side. McCarthy gets the snap. Hands off. Corum running left. Corum's got a hole in the block. Bounces outside the 40. Corum stutter step. Twirls his way to the 45, maybe 46-yard line. And that's just what the doctor ordered to start this drive for Blake Corum. A gain of 11 and a first down.
Jalen Reed there in the open field didn't quite make the tackle, but held up Blake Corum long enough for 2 more Penn State defenders to recover and finally bring him down.
And we've seen all day just gaping holes right near the line of scrimmage for Corum and Edwards to burst through. 1 wide receiver split to the far side. Corum behind McCarthy as the back. Ronnie Bell in motion to the near side. The hands off Corum, running left, and he's wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage. Nick Charberton gets to Corum first.
Nice play there by Penn State. We've seen that a few times today where they have been able to clog the holes, and when they've been able to do that, they've kept Michigan pretty much motionless.
Johnson, Bell, and Wilson on a bunch formation to the far side. Corum to McCarthy's right. 2nd and 10 for the Wolverines from the 46-yard line. down 14-13. McCarthy gets the snap. Quick throw to the right side, caught by Johnson. Johnson cuts back inside and is stonewalled at the 50-yard line, driving backwards, but forward progress will give him a gain of 4. And now 3rd and 6 ensuing for Michigan with 3 minutes and rolling here in the first half.
Michigan needs to convert here. Penn State has all of the momentum going right now. You do not want to give them the ball back with 3 minutes left to play and 2 timeouts.
Edwards and Bell to the far side. Johnson, the wide receiver, near side. Schoonmaker also up top. Edwards in motion. Corum, handoff, or McCarthy keeps it. Running right, he's got the first down, and he's driven to the turf at the 37-yard line. J.J. McCarthy on the keeper gets 13 yards and a pivotal first down for the Wolverines.
J.J. McCarthy saw the Sean Clifford read option, said, hey, I can do that too. Great read on the defensive end on the fake jet sweep. Bursts in the open field. One nice move for the first down. And Michigan will have it here at the 37.
Adissa Isaac was the Penn State player in the backfield who was fooled on the read option. So McCarthy giving the Nittany Lions a taste of their own medicine. It's now 1st and 10 from the 37. The hands off for Corum, and he's met behind the line of scrimmage. Great play by Hakeem Beeman, who was there in first. Loss of 2, and that's rare to see Blake Corum stop behind the line of scrimmage. It's 2nd and 12.
Carson Barnhart got spun around there, was looking into the backfield as Blake Corum got taken down. That'll push the ball back to the 39-yard line.
Edwards in the game here for Corum. Andrell Anthony, lone receiver to the near side. It's Wilson and Bell up top. Now Wilson in motion, joins Anthony on the near side. Penn State shows blitz. They bring pressure. It's picked up. McCarthy fires to the right side. Incomplete, and Bell was held. That's going to be either holding or pass interference. Ronnie Bell going up with Johnny Dixon. And McCarthy fired it his way, and Bell got all sorts of spun around by Dixon.
So a flag comes on the play for pass interference, but comes from the referee across the field. The referee about 5 yards away from the play that Ronnie Bell turned around to complain to. Didn't say a word, just showed incomplete. A referee on the opposite hash is the one who throws the flag there.
Sure to infuriate James Franklin on the Penn State sideline. It moves the ball to the 24-yard line. 1st and 10 for Michigan. The Wolverines could really use an answer here after Penn State's 14 unanswered points. McCarthy under center with Corum the back. Anthony motions to the far side, joining Bell. 1st and 10 Wolverines. Play action. JJ drops back, rolls right. McCarthy looking for Schoonmaker, and it's incomplete. Looking down that far sideline, trying to thread a needle and couldn't quite get the job done. 2nd and 10 coming up. JJ started this game 12 of 15. He's since 1 for 5 through the air.
Good idea there from J.J. McCarthy. Tried to throw it where only his receiver could get it, just a little bit too far past the outstretched hands of Luke Schoonmaker.
2nd and 10 for Michigan from the 24-yard line. Corum behind McCarthy. 3 receivers split to the near side. Now Wilson in motion to the far side. Corum gets the handoff, running right. Sheds a blocker and gets a first down. He knocked a man to the turf, bouncing outside and picking up the first down at the 14-yard line.
A grown man run there from Blake Corum. Jumped through the leg tackle, shoulders another one off.
And Tyler Elsdon is not going to want to watch that on tape. Just got shook off by Corum, who is at 90 yards and 19 carries in the first half. Talk about a workhorse. He's in the backfield again here. Gets the handoff, lowers his shoulder up the middle, staying on his feet, pushing the pile to the 10-yard line. A gain of 3. 2nd and 7 for Michigan.
Michigan electing not to use a timeout here as the clock runs. It'll be under a minute.
Michigan still has all 3 timeouts. 2nd and 7 from the 10, so the Wolverines can still pick up a first down here deep in the red zone. Anthony, the lone receiver to the near side. Bredesen, the fullback. Corum, the H-back. Or Edwards, actually, and Edwards gets the handoff, lowers his shoulder, and is down right around the 5-yard line for a gain of 5. So Edwards spelling Corum with his 6th carry of the day. Now has 49 yards, brought down by Mustafer. It'll be 3rd and 2, and there is Jim Harbaugh using one of those aforementioned timeouts.
So the ball's on the 5-yard line here again, 3rd and 2. So Michigan gets to the 3. They'll stop the clock for a moment and get a fresh set of downs.
And you assume it's not 4-down territory here just because of the optics. Michigan, if it's able to convert on a field goal, should it not get this 3rd down, would then go into the half with the lead. The Wolverines also do not get the ball first in the second half, having opened the game with a field goal drive. But it would be deflating for Michigan to have a 3rd drive stall deep in the red zone. So a lot is riding on the shoulders of the Wolverines offense right now, and possibly Blake Corum, who opens as the H-back here as Michigan retakes the field out of the timeout with McCarthy under center. 3rd and 2. Anthony split to the far side. 3 tight ends on the left side of the formation. The hands off Corum. Evades one tackler and is met right at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be short. It's a big-time stop for Penn State. And let's see what Jim Harbaugh decides to do here. No sign of a field goal unit now. It's 4th and 3. Michigan lost a yard. Now the Wolverines looking like they're going to hurry up and go for it. They could also just be doing a ruse. McCarthy jumps under center, and it is a ruse. They tried to get Penn State to jump off sides. The Nittany Lions didn't bite, and Harbaugh calls a timeout. And here comes the field goal unit onto the field.
So Michigan will have to settle for a field goal here. If they knock it through, they'll go up 16-14. But Jared, if you look at the scoreboard right now, total yards, Michigan 274 to Penn State's 84. 18 first downs to Penn State's 1.
I was about to point that out. I think that's the most damning stat. 18 first downs to 1. And Michigan, at the moment, is losing.
Time of possession, 19 minutes and 30 seconds to just 6 minutes and 2 seconds for Penn State.
And it is indeed Jake Moody out onto the field for what will be his 3rd field goal attempt of the game. He made his first 2 rather effortlessly. A 29-yarder and a 24-yarder. This will be another chip shot. 4th and 2 from the 5. Snap is good, hold is good, kick is good. And Jake Moody knocks his 3rd field goal of the game through the uprights, and Michigan is up 16-14 with 2 seconds to go in this first half. So the Wolverines will almost certainly go into halftime with the lead. A nice 11-play, 60-yard drive after that Penn State pick 6, which gave the Nittany Lions the lead. A solid answer for the Wolverines, but again, as we've been saying, this is a game that Michigan has dominated, and yet the Wolverines only up 2. Not a great look for Michigan.
On paper, there should be no reason why Michigan is only up by 2 points right now. Again, ahead by almost 200 yards, 190 to be exact, in the total yardage. 17 more first downs than Penn State, has held the ball for almost 20 minutes longer than them, and yet somehow the score is 16-14.
Jake Moody will kick it off. Going with the wind. 2 seconds left in the half. Wolverines up to 16-14. A first half that has featured a little bit of everything. And they might need a placeholder here as the gust of wind blows the ball over. And now it looks like it's good to go. And it falls down. Announcers jinx at its finest, and they should have just realized that they needed someone to hold the kick.
If I had to pick one broadcaster out of everyone who's ever broadcasted anything that is the biggest broadcaster jinx, I would have to say it's Adam Bressler. This man...
You think he knows it?
I've told him multiple times. He just doesn't care. Like, you know, you're not supposed to mention the no-hitter. He'll just throw it out there. He doesn't care. I love the kid to death, but
not a care in the world from Adam next to us as Moody's kickoff booms through the back of the end zone. It'll be at the 25. This half all but a formality, 2 seconds remaining. 16-14, Michigan on top. And the defense and offense, respectively, trot out onto the field for one final play of the half. Clifford lines up under center. And he'll take a knee, and that'll wrap up the first half of action in Ann Arbor. 16-14, Michigan on top. The scoreboard doesn't quite tell the entire story. 2 huge seismic plays for Penn State got the Nittany Lions back into this game and momentarily in the lead. It was the 62-yard run on the option play on 3rd and 1 by Sean Clifford, which set up a score on 4th and 1 by Allen. And then it was the pick 6 by Curtis Jacobs that was deflected and then knocked off, ricocheting off a Penn State player's helmet, and Jacobs taking it to the house. Michigan, though, responded with a field goal by Moody. 3 long drives that ended in a field goal, 1 that found the end zone with Blake Corum. And so that's all your scoring, and that's why it's 16-14 Michigan, even though the Wolverines have 18 first downs and the Nittany Lions just 1.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but on paper, Michigan should be ahead by much more than 2 points here.
Indeed, they should. All of these statistics are huge disparities, whether it's total yards, first downs, time of possession, total plays even. 50 for Michigan, just 14 for Penn State, but the Nittany Lions have the 2 biggest plays of the day. It's the Clifford run and the Jacobs pick 6. So 16-14 the score here, Michigan on top. Thank you as always for listening to WCBN Sports and WCBN Sports' presentation of Michigan football. I'm Jared Greenspan alongside Charlie Brigham. Pleased to have brought you the first half of action as we transition over here into our halftime show. Adam Bressler and Zach Linfield eagerly await to bring you second half action here on WCBN Sports. We're talking through halftime, and we, of course, have the second half. So plenty more to come here from the big house, from the maze out. 5th-ranked Wolverines lead the 10th-ranked Nittany Lions in a seismic top 10 matchup, 16-14 as it stands right now as halftime is underway.
An exciting first half for sure, Jared. I mean, the fans here who packed the big house today definitely got their money's worth.
For Michigan, for Penn State, it comes down to those 2 key plays. For Michigan, it comes down to an inability to score touchdowns in the red zone. Had to settle for 3 field goals on drives that saw them march deep into Penn State territory. There was an 11-play, 64-yard drive that took up over 5 minutes of clock, a 13-play, 77-yard drive that took up north of 6 minutes of clock, and an 11-play, 60-yard drive that took up over 4 minutes of clock. Each of those drives, which ended at the Penn State 5, Penn State 6, and Penn State 11-yard line, resulted in field goals. And if the Wolverines wind up losing this game, you can look right back to those 3 drives and point rather succinctly to that as being the fault.
When Zach Linfield and I were talking pregame, we mentioned that mistakes and big plays were going to be really the key separators here. And, I mean, that's been the story so far. Michigan's mistakes and big plays from Penn State, the long run from Clifford and the interception that turned, or the pick 6, are the only 2 reasons that they're in this ball game right now.
Blake Corum, per usual, has had a very stellar day so far. 21 carries for 93 yards. The offensive line has been solid. J.J. McCarthy, up and down, mostly good early, tailed off a little since. Started out 12 of 15, ended the half 1 of 5, and of course threw that pick 6, which wasn't exactly his fault, a bit of a fluky play. Nonetheless, resulted in 6 points for the opposition. Cornelius Johnson, the leading receiver, 3 catches for 43 yards. Ronnie Bell, 4 for 25. Roman Wilson, 3 for 23. 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 Michigan's marching band on the field right now. So 16-14 the score, Michigan on top, thanks to Charlie Brigham for the first half call as we welcome in one of our other broadcasters, your go-to football guy, Zach Linfield, almost ready to join me. Adam Bressler will be on to take my place in just a few minutes. Michigan on top of Penn State, 16-14, an up and down first half for the Wolverines. One that started off very strong, in the middle not so much, and then ended on a high note with the field goal. So Zach, thanks for joining me here on our halftime show. As always, thanks to listening to WCBN Sports presentation of Michigan football. I'm Jared Greenspan, joined by Zach Linfield. Zach, 16-14 the scoreboard, Michigan on top. This could be a game, though, that the Wolverines have a much larger lead in.
Right, and as you and Charlie both mentioned, there was a really dominant stat line for Michigan across plenty of different categories. That includes the time of possession, first downs, total yardage. But if we're really talking about it, big plays are what matter the most right now. A 62-yard scamper for Clifford on a play that everyone thought that Katron Allen was brought down in the backfield. And then also the touchdown on fourth down at about an inch. Think about how close Mike Morris was to bringing down Allen before getting to the end zone. And then, of course, what do you even want to call that? The bounce off the helmet six?
A very fluke pick six.
But other than that, this has been Michigan's football game. The crowd is still very much into it, but I think the frustration is starting to build up just a little bit for the 110,000 that are here cheering on their team. 4 red zone trips in the first half, and they convert 3 field goals. Of course, they did score the 1 touchdown, so they're batting 1,000 inside the red zone, but you just can't settle for 3 field goals. There's been no shots to the end zone through the air, and that's a little concerning for a team that's supposed to have a lot of creativity on the offensive side of the football.
You mentioned big plays and the big play disparity, too. Penn State has 2 huge plays, and that really has accounted for all of their points. Michigan, 4 methodical, dominating drives. No big play that you could point to. And through the air, J.J. McCarthy, 106 yards, 13 of 20, and an interception. He's played well. I don't think the stat line quite captures that. But when you look at it, it's pedestrian performance so far for McCarthy. And Michigan can rely on Corum, but it's going to need McCarthy to, as you hinted at, really connect on some of those deep balls through the air. The only one really was the 35-yard pass to Johnson.
And a lot of people knew that Penn State's secondary would be the best that JJ's faced off against in his collegiate starting career. Of course, he played some pretty big minutes in last year's Orange Bowl against Georgia, and he played a little bit against Michigan State last year, and their secondary was pretty superb as well. But this is better than Michigan State's secondary was last year and what they're facing off against Penn State. A lockdown corner with Johnny Dixon. They've got a couple of good safeties, and the linebackers are able to cover as well. Luke Schoonmaker has been the best passing option for Michigan in the past 3 weekends, and he does not have a catch yet. He's been targeted once or twice, but the linebackers, especially Curtis Jacobs, who scored the touchdown and has been in the Michigan backfield a number of times now, has been locking down Luke Schoonmaker, and that was something that Michigan knew about coming into the week, is that Penn State is only the second press man team that Michigan's played against this season, and it's paying off right now for Penn State.
And Zach, I'll leave you with one last thought here before I hand the headset over to Adam. Michigan's defense has played very well. It's a stiff test for the offense, or at least it was billed as a stiff test. And it was billed the same for the defense, too, a Michigan defense that has played well this year but shown a lot of flaws, namely in the secondary and amongst the linebackers. But besides that big 62-yard run by Clifford, the Wolverines defense has played seemingly very well, forcing 2 3-and-outs and really keeping Penn State's offense and Sean Clifford and the dynamic rushing attack at bay. If you look at Singleton and Allen, they haven't done much of anything in the rushing department. Singleton, 3 carries for 3 yards. Allen with 2 carries for 3 yards, and that was really the storyline of the week coming into the game.
2 carries, 3 yards, and a touchdown.
The touchdown is big. But that was really set up by the Clifford run, and I think that's something Michigan will be wary of now, the read option, which they did not do a good job with on that 61-yard or 62-yard rushing play.
And I think one thing, a thorn in the side, Jared, of Michigan's past in the last couple of seasons, as we pass it along to Adam Bressler too, is that the running quarterback has been the thorn in the side of Michigan football on the defensive side of things. Don Brown's defense for a number of years was unable to figure out the run by the quarterback, and I think that really hurt Michigan for quite some time. But they know Sean Clifford. They've played against him for 5 seasons now, and Michigan is no stranger to Sean Clifford, but yet it seemed like they had never met on the 62-yard carry.
Yeah, this game so far is just this is the type of game when they say stats don't care about the outcome, because what you are seeing is in the stat book, one story is being told. Michigan is incredibly dominant, 18 first downs to just 1 for Penn State. In the scorebook, however, it's 16-14. Penn State is able to capitalize. Michigan has not so far. 3 straight drives having to settle with field goals in the end zone, or in the red zone, pardon me. And for Michigan, I guess this is better than having like a close 16-14 game. You'd rather have a game that you should be winning 28-0 than a game that you deserve to be 16-14, but it's still not great that they're unable to capitalize. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in the red zone. And that's what I'm most concerned about in this second half. Penn State's lucky, and if they get lucky at the right time, they might be able to pull off a dub here in Ann Arbor and shock the Wolverines, especially with some second half adjustments.
And you and I were talking about Penn State quite some time yesterday night as we kind of prepped for the game. And I know in the past we also talked about the big playability that Michigan does have and what they brought to Penn State last year. You remember the final touchdown that Michigan scored with only 3 minutes to play was Eric All's longest run down the sideline on a gimpy ankle. But Michigan, you got to ask that question, who is the big play going to come from in the second half? JJ's been making some pretty good throws. That was a dot down here to the sideline to Ronnie Bell. He just happened to be out of bounds. Now, Ronnie did the best that he could to make that catch, but nonetheless, throwing the ball down the field today, JJ's been pretty good. What he's been inefficient at today is finding those screens. 2 out of the, I believe, 5 bubble screens Michigan's thrown so far have either gone above the head, that was to Donovan Edwards on what should have been a touchdown, and then the low throw to Roman Wilson. So those plays are there, especially through the air. And Michigan kind of got their first look at an air raid last week when they played against Indiana, because IU's defense was pretty good against the run.
I agree. Could we also discuss Michigan's running game so far, especially from Corum? Complete dominance. Edwards had some mixed bag. He's had a couple of big plays, but also has been stuffed for a couple of losses. But Corum, it feels like he could just pound through anything. Those leg squats are really coming in handy, especially with that goal line drive. I'm a little bit surprised Michigan hasn't relied more on him this game. They seem to be fleshing out these dump-off passes, these screen throws, and a lot of them I feel would be more effective just giving it to your power back and having him power through. Even in the plays where Edwards comes on in, I'm kind of surprised they don't stick with Corum. I know they want to flesh some things out and mix it up, but Corum has zero answer by Penn State. He's able to power through, and if Michigan wins, it will be on his back and on his calves, as he'll just grind through anyone that the Nittany Lions throw at him.
And two, I wish that we were able to see yards after contact for these running backs in the game here today. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards have both been spectacular when toting the rock after contact, especially Blake Corum. Boy, has he been able to sneak through a couple of really tiny gaps in Penn State's defense. And as we mentioned, Iowa and Penn State are the 2 best defenses on the schedule that Michigan has played so far. Of course, Ohio State down the road's got a good defense. MSU's front 7 are okay. Now, the secondary, that's a different story. But only leading by 2, it's safe to say plenty are a bit disappointed, especially with, truly, Adam, we'll call it luck at this point for Penn State on the interception. But that was one heck of a play design by Penn State James Franklin to allow Sean Clifford to keep that ball, something really that we've been wanting to see J.J. McCarthy do for quite some time now.
Yeah, I agree. I know it's kind of lucky that it happens, but I don't want to let McCarthy off the hook. That was a bad play decision. You see it first with the stumble from the snap, and then the play just wasn't progressing. You try to thread something. It might work against Hawaii. It might work against UConn. But when you try and pull that out against a top 10 team like Penn State, a top team like Ohio State later in the season, it's not going to work out for you. And he was very careful against Iowa to not have mistakes like that. But you need to keep it up against Penn State, against Ohio State, against some of the other teams later in the season.
And it really did seem like for a little while there that Michigan might just pull away from this one early. But nonetheless, Penn State found themselves on top of Michigan 14-13 with about 4 minutes to play in the half. Now, Michigan would have turned that ball over and Curtis Jacobs brought to the ground. Penn State might be able to use up the rest of the clock and run it out that way.
Yeah.
And then they're able to take the lead and get the ball in the second half to begin. But I believe that last drive by Michigan, Adam, that's going to come back and you're going to be like, okay, I really wish we got a touchdown there. But
I think
at least they have the lead.
They got the lead into halftime, but I think all 3 drives, you shouldn't be settling for short chip shots. They were all in the red zone, and I'm sure we're padding Moody's stats, but who cares at this point? When we need
Touchdowns
points on the
need to
board,
beat the top 10 teams. Right.
We need 7 points from each of those drives. And the offense is looking great moving down the fields in terms of total yardage. They're absolutely dominating Penn State. Penn State, prior to that one breakaway, had single-digit yardage. And they actually lost a yard on that final kneel down. So Michigan's just doing an absolute dominant job, but those 2 plays, the scramble for 60-plus and then the pick 6, was enough to just completely shift the narrative of the game at this point.
I think, too, one factor that we haven't necessarily talked about yet in this halftime report is the 12th man for Michigan has been very good today.
Yeah.
They've been able to help out this defense, and the defense really is feeding off that energy. It's been one play defensively that Michigan had struggled with. That was the read option that Sean Clifford ran 62 yards down the middle of the field, and I think an underrated play that we won't talk about because it resulted in a touchdown was the effort from DJ Turner to chase down Sean Clifford from behind. But it's safe to say this Michigan crowd was stunned, as Jared Greenspan said in the first half for a couple minutes there. They were like, what in the world just happened? But then they saw their offense march it down the field, retake the lead, and it's that important for Michigan to be in front as we near kickoff here in the second half. About 4 minutes, 30 seconds left on the halftime between Michigan and Penn State. Biggest home game of the season for the Wolverines. Then a bye week. Michigan State comes to town Halloween weekend after that. Adam, when we talk about your keys to the second half, does Michigan do anything different besides just try and punch it in? What would your keys to the second half be for this team?
I'd put the team on the back of Corum. I'd rely on him more. I frankly don't love some of the decision-making from Harbaugh on the play calls. Some of these like screens and scrambles from McCarthy just aren't working out. Penn State anticipates it, and they get a quick sack, sometimes even for a loss of a couple yards. And do we have T. Grizzly in the stadium here? That
T.
took me
Grizzly's
by
a Michigan
surprise.
fan, man.
I thought he hates Michigan State, though.
That's a long story that we should not get into.
Not going to get into. I didn't realize he was a Michigan fan. I just thought he was anti-state. But if he was going to come to a game, I would think it would be in 2 weeks, not now. But that fires up the stands, I guess.
It's a beautiful day for football. I don't think you could really ask for much better in mid-October. A little bit chilly, and I'd say it is pretty tough to find your maize gear to wear in the middle of the fall at a relatively cold environment. But other than that, the maize out, beautiful. Penn State brought quite a few fans wearing white in the upper corner of the south end zone here at Michigan Stadium. But other than that, it's all maize, much like last season against Washington.
Kind of surprised with the all-blue kits that Michigan has pulled out here. Would think it would be kind of cool to get the maize tops, maize bottoms with the maize out.
You know that's strategic as to why
I
they
know.
wear the blue.
I was thinking about it, though. But on defense, that could help. If the defensive back blends in with the crowd and then just jumps out of nowhere, gets an interception, that could be a game-changing move, just like we saw in the first half. This is what Harbaugh needs to think about when he meets with the, is it Ward who decides it straight at the top? Yeah. I don't know. But I think the yellow on yellow would have been real nice, especially with the sun peeking out from the clouds. It like glimmers across like this stadium amaze.
Did you ever get to your key for the second half?
I did. I said quorum. Keep it on the ground with quorum.
Some of the berserk things that you say completely tear me off the track that I'm trying to go on. Across the rest of the country right now, SEC country, 9th-ranked Ole Miss, undefeated at 6-0 under Lane Kiffin, lead 28-17 over Auburn, a team that Penn State buried into the ground down in Alabama a couple of weeks ago. 19th-ranked Kansas and Oklahoma, 14-point spread there as Brent Venables' Sooners look for their first victory in Big 12 play. Also in the Big 12, 22nd-ranked Texas with Quinn Ewers. Boy, has he been spectacular all season long when not injured. They lead 14-7 over the Cyclones of Iowa State. In the Big 10, 24th-ranked Illinois welcome to the top 25 to the Illini. They lead 20-14 over 4-1 Minnesota. That Big 10 West division, Adam, it's wide open.
Talk about a trap game late in the season. Final home game for the Wolverines, none other than the Illini. They could be fighting to wrap up the Big 10 West.
Big opportunity for the Fighting Illini. I don't think anyone would have ever thought that Brett Bielema's crew would be in the conversation for the Big 10 West championship. Now, they still have to go through a couple of gauntlets. They've got to go through Iowa. And of course, they have Minnesota right now. But a couple of the perennial powers in the Big 10 West just seem to be down this year. It's an East Division takeover. The East has won every single season the Big 10 championship. That streak was extended last season by Michigan beating Iowa. 16-14, Michigan in front of Penn State. Thank you for tagging along to the WCBN halftime show. Charlie Brigham, Jared Greenspan, wonderful job in the first half. And now we're back to a pretty regular duo, I'd say, now on the channel. Zach Linfield here with Adam Bressler to my right. Lots of fun from Ann Arbor. Michigan will be kicking it off to Penn State to begin the second half. 30 minutes to play, Michigan and Penn State. And the Wolverines are going to need this crowd to get back into it. Only one first down on the day for the Nittany Lions. And Sean Clifford and the team dressed in all white on the far sideline. They're going to look for something on offense that they haven't necessarily had today, and that's consistency. Michigan outgaining Penn State 274-83. Jake Moody to kick it away from the 35-yard line. Nick Singleton is back deep to return it. Into the wind, circling, bobbled. Singleton picks it up at the 5-yard line. A little room to run to the 15-yard line, taken down by Jake Moody. How about Jake? Taking him down at the 20. Singleton, he had a lot of room to run if he got around Jake Moody, and I'll tell you what, that ball was circling in the air, and Singleton had no clue where it was going to land.
You never want to see your kicker have to be the last line of defense, but if it does come down to it, I'm sure Moody's been practicing that, putting his body on the line. Unlike most players, he cares about protecting the lower body, not the upper body.
Sean Clifford from the shotgun. Allen is running back, fakes it to Allen, throws it into the ground. Mike Barrett right there in coverage of Brenton Strange. The tight end was the intended target. DJ Turner blitzed from his cornerback position and was right in the grill of Clifford. Good start for Michigan's defense on the first drive of the second half for PSU.
Defense has looked strong all game, just that one play pretty much.
3 receivers wide to the left for Clifford. Solo coverage at the top of the field for DJ Turner. Allen remains the running back. 10 seconds on the play clock for Clifford and Penn State. Out of the backfield now goes Allen. Clifford drops to throw. Rolling out to his right, looking for somewhere to go with the ball. Continues running, floats it out of bounds down the right sideline. He was close to stepping out. Mike Morris and Mozzie Smith were in pursuit of the Penn State quarterback.
Almost got decked, too, for a loss. He's lucky to stop the clock and keep his yardage.
Yeah, Jalen Harrell just missed him. 3rd down, 10 yards to go. Here comes the maize and blue crowd. Clifford from the shotgun, barking out signals. And up back to the left, 2 receivers left, 1 right. Clifford now walks his way up to his center, Juice Scruggs, the redshirt senior from Ashtabula, Ohio. Allen remains the running back. 8 on the play clock for Penn State. Clifford claps his hands. He's got the snap. Looking for somewhere to throw with the football. Mozzie Smith in pursuit. Throws across the middle. Got a receiver. That's Tinsley for a Penn State first down. Rod Moore makes the stop up towards the 35-yard line. First down, Penn State.
That'll be just the second first down of the game for Penn State.
Here comes Clifford and Penn State. Got the snap, throws quickly out to the right side. Ball's on the ground, no whistle quite yet, called incomplete. Mike Sainristil blew up a screen intended for Keandre Lambert-Smith.
Pretty clearly incomplete, but you love to see the hustle. Always playing to the whistle.
Sean Clifford doing a good job of navigating the pocket on those long dropbacks. No Nick Singleton on this drive after he bobbled the kickoff. The freshman Allen continues to be his back. It's off his right hip on second down and 10. Clifford got the snap, fakes the handoff. Allen drops from the pocket, plenty of time to throw. Down the right sideline, DJ Turner takes him to the ground. A nice catch by Tinsley. Or excuse me, the catch was made by Harrison Wallace all the way inside the Michigan 20-yard line. Don't think you could ask for much better of a pass from Sean Clifford.
And good defense from Michigan, too. It just perfectly threaded. And they're playing with some passion and some energy here.
And some tempo, too. Clifford hands off Allen right up the tackles. And he's met almost immediately by Michigan's interior defensive line. Rayshawn Benny, the first one there.
Penn State, they realize, even though they're trailing by 2, if they want to win this, they're going to have to play some gutsy football, take some deep shots, and that's working so far for them.
Here comes Tinsley in motion, left to right, Clifford the snap. Hand off to Allen around left end. He'll be brought down by Morris. Pickup of about 3 yards as he nears the Michigan 10. But it will bring up third down and about 4 yards to go for Penn State, and they're still moving with some tempo. Katron Allen remains a running back. Trips to the left for Penn State. Single coverage. Up at the top of the field. Going to the end zone. Incomplete. He wanted Tinsley again. DJ Turner in coverage after he was beat by Harrison Wallace for the big pickup. 48 yards on that long throw from Clifford to Wallace. And now a field goal attempt for Penn State.
This will be a pretty easy chip in. Should be a 27-yarder. For the chance to take the lead right here.
Remember, Michigan blocked a field goal last week against Indiana. Penn State, though, known for the fake. They could take the lead here. 16-14, Michigan in front. Jake Pinniger on to attempt the field goal. Good snap, good hold. It's up, and it is good. Penn State now leads 17-16 over Michigan here from Ann Arbor. And again, Adam, was mentioned on the halftime that big plays for Penn State are what's really driving this team against Michigan. The 48-yard pickup from Sean Clifford to Harrison Wallace did him in this time. And now it's Michigan's turn. Where does that big play come from? Can J.J. McCarthy do it with his arm? Can he do it with his legs? Can Blake Corum have one of those signature long runs that puts Michigan in a good position to score a touchdown here?
Yeah, we've seen Corum find some holes, just none big enough to get him streaking down the sideline. But if he keeps grinding, I think he'll be able to find one and get a big touchdown. That'll be huge for Michigan, especially with their struggles in the red zone. Who even needs red zone plays when you got a guy who could do it from deep?
Michigan welcomes Santa Ono, the 15th president for the University of Michigan. And I think Santa is going to give some presents to the Michigan crowd. Free t-shirt toss, and he's got himself a cannon, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He came from British Columbia, but before that he was at Cincinnati. Big football fan when he was there in Ohio. I'm sure he's glad to be on this side of the state line now.
Oh, yeah.
Scheduled to be the honorary captain in 2 weeks against Michigan State. He just began officially yesterday as his first day on campus as president. I think I speak for a lot of students when we're pretty excited about how passionate the new president is about athletics.
Oh, yeah. Big switch up from the past presidents Michigan's had, even the interim. 1 point lead for Penn State. 9 plays, 70 yards, 138 off the clock. It was a quick drive. for the Nittany Lions to move down the field. But again, I think an important thing for Michigan to note, Adam, is they were able to get Penn State into third down 2 different times. Clifford able to deliver a nice pass across the middle on one play, and then later Michigan able to actually find the job to DJ Turner in coverage to Tinsley in the end zone. And DJ Turner is usually a very good one-on-one cornerback that Michigan has. He's probably their best lockdown guy.
Turner did the right thing. I can't really blame him. He was only a quarter step behind his man, just it was perfectly threaded right into his gloves. There's not a ton you could do as a defensive back in that situation.
Both teams return to the field, about 30 seconds remaining here on the media timeout. Plenty of time to play. 13-15 to go in Ann Arbor in the third quarter. 1-point lead for Penn State after their 9-play, 70-yard drive converted into their first field goal of the afternoon. And now it's time, Adam, for Michigan to buckle down, get into the end zone on this drive.
Most certainly big stakes on this one.
The man that just converted the field goal, Jake Pinniger, is in kickoff formation for Penn State, and the ball wobbles off the tee.
Very
windy. Have a holder. Oh, yeah.
We got the wind blowing hard from the south to the north.
Gabe Nwosu, listed as a punter on the roster, had the last kickoff for Penn State, and that went well out of bounds. Now Pinniger walks up to the football, kicks it away, and A.J. Henning will have a chance to return this one from his own 3-yard line. Angling to his left, looking for a hole. Henning bounces away from a defender, and he's taken down at the 19-yard line. Play made by Zakie Wheatley, redshirt freshman from Crofton, Maryland. First down, Michigan. And now they'll try and retake the lead. A couple lead changes now late in the second quarter and early here in the third. Still waiting for A.J. Henning to pop one loose, man.
Henning, he has the guts. He's not very willing to take the fair catch. He'll go for it. He'll put his body on the line, and he'll break through soon.
2 tight end formation for Michigan to begin. First down from the 19-yard line. JJ, delayed handoff. Blake Corum looking for somewhere to run. Gets back to the line of scrimmage before being brought down from behind. Play made by Tyler Elsdon, the sophomore from Fraxville, Pennsylvania. No gain, 2nd and 10.
Bold play design right there with the delayed handoff, trying to see if anything opens up on the line, and Penn State kept their ground and tackled him for maybe a gain of half a yard.
Michigan's now rushed for 168 yards in this ball game. McCarthy from the pocket, drops back, fires, got Wilson at the 25. He's going to be about 5 yards shy of that first down marker. They need the 29. It'll bring up 3rd down and 4. They'll give him the extra yard. Michigan's been finding these windows in the Penn State secondary. Usually a very good press man team is Penn State on defense. But it seems like they're playing a little bit more zone against Michigan this week than in years past. 6 down lineman for the Wolverines. Schoonmaker, the tight end on the left. 2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Here comes Wilson in orbit motion. McCarthy from the pocket. Got to step away. Gets away from one defender to the 25-yard line, to the 30-yard line. Picks up the first down, shoved out of bounds by Kalen King. Recruited very heavily by Michigan out of Cass Tech.
Love to see that from McCarthy. Had a hand wrapped around his shoulder pad, shook it off, and got a gain of 7 or 8 to keep the chains moving and the possession alive.
Last 2 weeks, we've really seen McCarthy begin to use his legs on plays designed to be passes. Colston Loveland now into the game, the freshman tight end from Idaho. Edwards, the running back for McCarthy, off his left hip. Hands off to Edwards to the 35-40. Edwards 45-50, inside Penn State territory. Angles away from a defender. 35, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Michigan to the residents. Donovan Edwards. 67 yards for the sophomore from West Bloomfield. Just like that, Michigan back in front.
Before this drive, we said Michigan needs a statement. There it is. Put the punctuation mark on that drive. looking for the hole, took the man one-on-one, and it was open field for the final 40 yards, and he did not look back.
Michigan will go for 2 here, now leading 22-17 to try and go up by a touchdown. Michigan does get the play clock to reset. They've got 25 seconds to work with.
This is a smart move, down by 1. Not
Jim
much,
Harbaugh
yeah.
pleading to move the ball to the right hash. That was his conversation with the referee here on the near side. But up by 5 now, 22-17. What play design does Michigan have with 5 seconds on the play clock? McCarthy brings a man in motion, fires out quickly to the left side. In for the 2-point conversion is Ronnie Bell. And Michigan up by a touchdown, 24-17. We talked about the big play, Adam. Who would it come from? Donovan Edwards is the answer. Michigan by a score.
And if you would have asked me before this drive, Michigan back is going to get a wide open run down the sideline and put Michigan back on top, I would have totally said Corum. For Edwards to be able to have that big play is huge. Really keeps Penn State guessing and brings some energy back to this Michigan team.
11-12 to play in the third quarter, and how about that? 67 yards plus the 2-point conversion. 4 plays, 81 yards, only 157 off the clock. And now we'll talk about that play as the biggest one of the drive. But let's throw it back at him. 3rd down, 4 yards to go. J.J. McCarthy extends the drive with his legs.
Yeah, it would not have happened if he didn't play and go out of the playbook and find the opening and just keep it moving. I was very certain that he would go down with the sack with the way that play was developing, but he kept things alive on his feet. He wasn't trying to thread that very first look, kept the play alive, kept the drive alive, and allowed Michigan to score just a couple of plays later.
That's the 4th touchdown on the season for Donovan Edwards. He's now got 7 attempts for 116 yards and a score. And this crowd is right back into it, as if they went anywhere in the first place.
It is fall break for the Michigan students. Those who stayed in town came out full force today, wearing maize with the pom-poms. I'm very curious to see when the attendance will be announced. I'm thinking it's over 111 today. Not an empty seat in sight. It helps that it's a real close game, too.
Now leading it 24-17 over Penn State. And, well, Adam, your key to the second half was Blake Corum. And let's go to the secondary market. Let's get Donovan Edwards out there to make the big play.
I did say keep it on the ground. And what did they do? They got that big 3rd down play by scrambling. And then how'd they get the touchdown? Big rush. So they maybe didn't listen to the player I had in mind, but they did keep the general spirit of my key to the second half in mind.
So Sean Clifford and Penn State's offense will retake the field. And now you have to be wary of the vertical threat. We knew at some point Penn State would try and air it out, and it's, to be quite frank, one of the unlikely candidates got the call on the last one. That's Harrison Wallace, the redshirt freshman from Alabama. And Clifford, boy, you said it, he threaded the needle into him right between the arms of DJ Turner, Michigan's lockdown corner from Georgia.
Big opportunity for Michigan's defense to get a quick stop, keep the momentum on the Wolverines side. They've looked great all game besides that last drive, and even on that last drive, kept it to only 3 points.
I feel like it's now 100% guaranteed at some point the football is going to fall off the tee on a kickoff.
Yeah.
Joe Taylor, former dual sport athlete, hometown of Chelsea, Michigan nearby, will be the holder for Jake Moody.
Wind is continuing to blow. This time it's coming towards the kicker.
Jake Moody will kick it away. Deep for Penn State is Singleton. He will return it from the 13-yard line. Michigan provides pressure, and Jimmy Rolder tears him to the turf. 25-yard line for Penn State to begin. Some pushing and shoving following the play. German green. The Wolverine dressed in all navy blue today was the one barking out.
There's a lot of bad blood between these two programs, especially with how competitive things have been the last couple times they've met. Penn State 2019 comes down to the last play, came down to the last drive last year. Looking like we have something of the same now.
Kevon Lee is the back for Penn State on 1st down and 10. Clifford fakes the handoff to him, fires to the sideline. He's got Tinsley, and he's wrapped up and brought down by Jamon Green at the 33-yard line. Pickup of 8 yards for Penn State, and Jamon is slow to get up. He's had issues with his shoulder in the past, and I think it's re-aggravated now. Holding on to his left shoulder.
He gets up and walks towards the sideline, but then falls right back down to the turf.
Jim Harbaugh already out to the near hash. Will make his way to the cornerback green.
This would be a devastating loss for Michigan.
They'd have to turn to the freshman, former 5-star Will Johnson, to be the corner. He's been really good this year for Michigan, but talk about upping the stakes just a little bit. And Jamon Green walking off under his own power, met by a couple of the Michigan training staff assistants, and we'll have a media timeout. Adam, my favorite part of the game for you, you have to guess the attendance.
I told you, I already made my guess, 111K.
Straight up.
There'll be some change to it, but I think it'll break 111.
305th consecutive game with more than 100,000 fans, that is. With the asterisk next, but of course with the COVID year.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy. You were pretty close.
I was
You were
darn
only
close.
188 off
Yeah.
of being exact. Wow.
They couldn't
Props
squeeze
to you,
another
Mr. Bressler.
180 people in here? Sure they could if they
I think
tried.
They could. You look at the suites, there's a couple of empty spots.
Couple
We've got
of
some
empty
space in our booth.
Yeah. Do they count media members for that? They
I don't know.
collect the press passes they hand on out?
I don't know. There looked to be 182 media members.
Yeah. Oh, way more than that.
I was trying to give you the exact number.
Yeah.
When we return to play, it's going to be 2nd down and 2 for Penn State. Jamon Green to the sideline, getting checked out in the blue tent for Michigan Medicine. That offense on that last drive for Michigan, Adam, the long play by Donovan Edwards, but the rushing attack is very much still alive. It's very evident by the 67-yard touchdown carry by Edwards.
Going back to the attendance from a little bit earlier, Penn State is known for their big stadium too. It's not quite as large as Michigan. I believe it's the 2nd largest football stadium in the nation.
And boy, is it loud.
Yeah, it is loud. Although Michigan is the largest stadium in the country, not quite the loudest, the architecture of the bowl doesn't do a great job at trapping the sound.
Right.
After this season, they're hoping to enclose some of the upper decks with the extension of the Jumbotron. I'm sure that'll add some acoustic support. But when they say largest crowd watching a football game today, I think Penn State is very used to that feeling.
But typically, it's fans dressed in all white. Today they face off against 100 and nearly 11,000 in solidarity wearing maize. Kevon Lee remains the back for Penn State. 2 receivers split wide to each side. 2 tight ends in the set as well for the Nittany Lions. Johnson and Warren are the 2 upbacks. There's a delayed handoff to Lee. He's got the 1st down, barreling across the 35 all the way to the 40. They'll mark him down at the 29-yard line, but Michigan needed multiple defenders to bring him to the turf. Junior Colson on the stop. A trio of receivers to the far sideline. Clifford pumps, looks down the sideline, almost intercepted. DJ Turner had it right onto his chest plate, and it bounced off. Bring up 2nd down and 10. Boy, would that have been big for Michigan.
That would have been huge.
His intended receiver was the tight end, Tyler Warren.
It kind of slipped through Warren's hands, and he tipped it. And if it wasn't even tipped, it would have been a clean pick pretty much.
2nd down, 10 yards to go for Penn State. Clifford from the shotgun. In motion goes Singleton out to the left. Clifford pumps. Here comes pressure. Clifford gets away from Ozzie Smith. Clifford rolling to the right. Clifford to the 40-yard line, pushed out by Morris at the 40. It'll bring up 3rd down and long for Penn State. But boy, Ozzie Smith almost had him wrapped up in his bear trap of a grasp.
Clifford is unafraid to use his legs.
It's get off the field time for Michigan. DJ Turner in one-on-one coverage at the top of the field. Singleton remains the back for Clifford in the shotgun. Fakes the hand clap. Barks out signals to his redshirt senior center, Juice Scruggs. And the rest of the Penn State offensive line. Singleton remains the back to the right hip of Clifford. He's got the snap. No pressure for Michigan. Fires across the middle. Got it complete. Tinsley. And he's brought down by Rod Moore. Boy, just a hair off was Rod at getting pressure on the receiver for Penn State. And another big pickup for Tinsley. Michigan's got too many men on the field. Singleton will get the carry up the middle. And there's the flag. About 5 yards on the pickup. But Penn State's going to benefit by a Michigan penalty here.
Just as we expected, it's the illegal substitution.
Mozzie, he kind of looked back at the defensive line as in like, do I belong here right now? It'll bring up 1st down and 5, but I mean, shoot at that point. You just go in there and make the tackle.
Yeah.
So 1st down and 5 now for Penn State. They will use the Michigan penalty. Just 2 on the day against the Maize and Blue for 10 total yards. In motion comes Theo Johnson. Clifford will roll out to his right. Dropping, firing it out of bounds and incomplete. Mike Morris in pursuit of the quarterback. 2nd down and 5.
So I guess the same outcome. It would have been 2nd down and 5 anyway.
Penn State 14 points in the 2nd quarter and a field goal here in the 3rd. Driving right now, Michigan's 38-yard line, 2nd down and 5. Splitting the hash as Michigan leads by 7, 24-17 over 10th-ranked Penn State. Motion man is Strange. He lands as the up back. Delayed handoff up the middle. It's Singleton. He got maybe a yard. Kenneth Grant and Junior Colson make the tackle for Michigan. Brings up 3rd down and 4. And if they don't get it here, Adam, is this 4-down territory for Penn State?
I'd say no, and you know why? What direction is the flags blowing? Directly behind them. It'll add some boost to the kick. I think it'll be a clean field goal if they attempt it.
They need a revved up 111,000 here on 3rd down. The motion man is Washington. Clifford pumps that way, rolling out, got an open receiver. It's Singleton to the 30-yard line, brought out of bounds. There is a flag down in the secondary. And Rod Moore immediately points over towards Penn State, signaling that it's on the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, we'll see what the call is, but Michigan cheated out from that, left a wide open receiver to get the 1st down. We'll see if it stands, however.
And that seemed to be the same play that Michigan ran earlier on the pick 6.
So there you go. Pass interference from the offense, and that fires up the crowd and will negate the 1st down.
So that'll move Penn State back. And Michigan will now have a chance to get after the quarterback on 3rd down and 19.
Not only that, it takes them well out of field goal range. They'll need a tornado practically. I know the wind's blowing already, but they're back on their own side of the field now.
Well, here comes that crowd, 111,000 to their feet, waving maize pom-poms. 3rd down, 19 yards to go from Penn State's own 48-yard line, splitting the hashes. The running back is Katron Allen for PSU. 3 receivers wide left, 1 to the right. Clifford's going to drop. Here comes pressure from his backside. Steps up in the pocket, gets away. Plenty of room to run for Clifford to the 50-yard line, 45. He's smacked at the 40 by the freshman Will Johnson.
And a little bit of a tussle between the players as he was thrown into Michigan's sideline.
You saw his defensive mates pull him away. It looked like Will was going to say something to Sean Clifford. And Michigan, who got a couple of personal foul penalties last weekend, looks like they might be able to get off the field. Hold on now. Penn State will go for it on 4th down and 6. Here we go.
This is about the time. You don't want to be punting here. Got to be aggressive.
4th down, 6 yards to go from the left hash. Michigan's 39-yard line. Who wants to make a stop? 2 on the play clock. Clifford doesn't get it off. Timeout, Penn State. James Franklin has to use one, and that'll rev up this crowd, won't it?
You know what that is? That's called the Mays-out effect. We saw it last year against Washington on the very first play. Took until the second half, but got that one too.
And with that, it'll bring us to a media timeout. And we will see if Penn State will keep the offense on the field.
We got the Slippery Rock update. At halftime, they're leading against Gannon University. I'm not familiar with them. We have this media timeout now with a huge stop opportunity for the Wolverines defense to get off the field on this drive, keep the momentum high, and give the offense another opportunity to add some space would be huge. And they're playing Mr. Brightside now with a little bit of a special intro. Usually don't have a video guest, but DJ Ski does his own thing. We all know that.
Now, how important, Adam, would it be if Michigan was able to get off the football field here?
Oh, it would be.
And then have the offense try and take a 2-possession lead.
Yeah, not only to take the 2-possession, just maintain the momentum after last drive would be huge. It's right on the cusp here where they can't really punt it, but it's 4th and 6, so it's not an easy short down distance. Not a great option either way for Penn State. If I were head coach, I would probably go for it. Just on the road in an environment like this, you have to be aggressive. And is the extra 37 yards you get from a punt even worth it? I don't even know. And with the wind punting, it will more likely than not just be a touchback anyway, so it'll come out at 20 yards.
So Barney Amore was on the field, but he will now depart and head back towards the sideline. Sean Clifford and the Penn State offense will stick around.
That's the right move right there. Got to keep your foot on the gas. Even if you don't make it here, it's not much of a difference.
As Mr. Brightside concludes, they're going to need to crank it up here. Mike Barrett urging on this crowd. Boy, do they need this very rowdy 111,000 to rise to their feet here on 4th down and 6. It's got to be the loudest all day. Boy, are they revved up. The running back for Clifford is Katron Allen. In motion to the right side goes Washington. Clifford, he's got the snap. He's going to throw it. No pressure from Michigan. Fires to the sideline. Incomplete. He wanted Parker Washington to the far sideline. Mike Sainra still hip pocket in coverage.
That is huge for Michigan's defense to get off the field without any points. Already up 7, looking to make it an even 14 on this next drive. It's in McCarthy's hands now.
Now, how do you play if you're Michigan?
Now,
do you go aggressive? Do you go conservative? Do you keep it on the ground?
I'll keep it on the ground, but I'll take some aggressive plays on the ground, maybe some end around, some sweeps, some reverses. But no need to air it out for the deep shots just yet.
7:31 to play, third quarter, right hash. Here's a handoff to Blake Corum. He inches his way to the 45-yard line, 50, 45-40. Blake Corum into the clear, 25-20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Michigan! Just like that. 61 yards.
Corum found the gap, adding some more tape to his Heisman candidacy. There were some people from the Heisman committee in attendance tonight, or this afternoon rather. I'm sure they're taking some notes after that play.
Michigan will bring on the extra point unit with Jake Moody. Brad Robbins will hold, and Greg Tarr from Romeo, Michigan will be the snapper, as William Wagner's season is done with a torn ACL. Kick is up, and it is good. And Moody puts the exclamation point on a Michigan one-play, 61-yard drive. It took 11 seconds for Blake Corum to get all the way down the field. 14-point lead, 31-17 Michigan. They've now rushed for 304 yards this afternoon.
Edwards is fanning Corum on the sidelines. That fired up the fans. And you got to breathe a lot easier with the past two drives from the Wolverines and extend that lead to a solid 14.
Did you say last two drives or last two plays?
Last two plays. Same thing. They're equivalent. And Penn State will get the ball back as Michigan's crowd is loud and rowdy. The offense had almost zero rest. They had 11 seconds of rest, and they'll be back on the field. And Michigan fans are loud and making them fight for every yard.
Jake Moody will kick off for the Wolverines. And Nick Singleton is back deep to return for Penn State. Wind blowing right at Jake Moody. He'll do his best to get it away, and Singleton will see it bounce inside the 5. He's got to retrieve it to the 10-yard line. Cut down by Amarion Walker. Nice play by the freshman, and Penn State's going to be backed up to begin this drive. 7:17 to play third quarter. Michigan in front by 14.
Singleton was fully expecting the touchback there. The wind said nope, kept it bounced on the 6 or 7 yard line. He had to pick it up there. Able to gain a couple more, and he'll take it on the 13 to start this drive.
First down at 10, Penn State from the 13. The running back is Katron Allen to the left hip of Clifford. Barking out signals, claps his hands. He's got the snap. Hands off to Allen, brought down by Yabi Oki. Nice tackle right into his hip to the 16-yard line, a pickup of 3. Penn State now inches closer to the 100-yard mark on the ground themselves. 97 total compared to Michigan's 304. Second down and 7 for Penn State. They split the hashes. 3 receivers wide to the right, 1 to the left. It's a talented receiver, Lambert Smith. Clifford gets a snap, throws out right side. Lots of room now down the right sideline for Parker Washington, and he's brought down near the 30. It was a quick screen, and they've been really capitalizing off those all afternoon now, especially here early in the second half.
Michigan's been playing a very tight man-to-man defense this game. It seems to be working pretty well, but when they get those screens off.
Clifford's got the snap again. They're moving with some tempo now. Throws across the middle. Incomplete. Throw was low for his intended receiver, Mitchell Tinsley. Now in his 5th university. Transferred from multiple different schools. Hometown of Lee's Summit, Missouri. DJ Turner trying to plead to the officials that Tinsley's getting away with the push-off. Now it's second down and 10 from the Penn State 31. Play clock at 20. Plenty of time for Sean Clifford and the Nittany Lions. In motion from right to left is the up back Tyler Warren, the tight end. Fakes the handoff to Katron Allen. Throws, bounced into the air, incomplete. Mike Morris was all over it. How about the senior from Tampa, Florida? Boy, has he had a really good last couple weeks now.
Oh, he's just surging. This would be huge if he could keep it up late into this season. He seems to be everywhere on the field.
And now do you dial up pressure here on third down and 10?
Almost certainly.
Clifford's going to empty out the backfield. 1 tight end to the right. Other than that, 3 receivers wide left. He now brings Katron Allen into the backfield to join him as his running back. Motion man across the set is Mitchell Tinsley. He's gotten a lot of action here today. 5 on the play clock for Clifford. from the 31-yard line right hash. He's got the snap, drops to throw. Here comes pressure, steps away from it, can't get away from R.J. Moten. The safety on the sack, his first of the season.
He said bring the pressure. Moten got the memo straight from the backfield and brings on a 4th down and 12 as Penn State has no choice but to punt.
They finally get to Sean Clifford. And he's been really good at getting away from that Michigan pressure this afternoon. But now Barney Amore will have to punt it away. Clifford almost got back to the line of scrimmage. Ball was placed at the 29-yard line. A circling kick down to A.J. Henning at the 27-yard line. Gets away from a defender. Now angles to the right sideline. He got the 35 before being brought down by the tight end, Theo Johnson. So Michigan will take over 33-yard line. Looking now to go in front by Penn State by 3 possessions. It's a 31-17 lead for the Maize and Blue here in Ann Arbor.
The last 2 plays have had 14 points attached. I think all 111,000 are eagerly awaiting to see what Harbaugh pulls out of his bag now. And we talked about this last drive, whether Michigan should be aggressive or conservative. After last drive, I think you can take it down a bit. Keep
First
ball
down
security.
and 10 from the 33-yard line. McCarthy hands off Donovan Edwards to the 35-yard line and barrels his way to the 36. 3 yards on the pickup, brought down by Keaton Ellis, hometown kid from State College. Now 2nd down and 7 for Michigan's offense. J.J. McCarthy in the shotgun. 6 down lineman with the tight end to the right. That's Schoonmaker. 3 receivers wide to the left. Stretch handoff to the right side. Edwards looking for somewhere to go. Inches away from a defender at the 35. There's a flag down in the Michigan backfield, and that's right at around the spot that we will see a hold.
Yeah, that seems about clear. It's going to be a holding off on the offense. Bring that play back. Going to be 2nd and 17 now.
That's the veteran Trevor Keegan, the guilty party. And as you mentioned, Adam, 2nd down and 17. 4:49 to play in the 3rd quarter. And now we might get to see some downfield creativity for Michigan. 3 receivers remain in the ballgame with Edwards, the receiving back, joining McCarthy in the backfield. 20 on the play clock. JJ finds his way up towards his offensive line, now backpedals into his set. JJ hands off. There's Donovan Edwards in between the tackles to the 30-yard line. He lost the football, and is Penn State on top of it? There's a scrum. Edwards lost it, and I think Trevor Keegan, who was just called for holding, got it back. Oh, man.
This drive is catastrophic so far. And you had the money. Keegan picked it up. 3rd and 12 now, and
you just can't give Penn State anything like that right now.
No. And it's going to be tough if they're forced to punt, too, going into the wind here. Won't get very many yards.
14-point lead for Michigan. Here's JJ from the shotgun. Blake Corum now into the ballgame. Points out some coverage for Penn State. JJ from the pocket, got an open receiver. It's Bell to the 35, stiff arms to the 40-yard line. He's got the first down, spinning away from another defender, and he's pushed out. He did get it, though. Forward progress will bring Ronnie Bell and Michigan to move the chains, and Zakee Wheatley was the one that pushed him out.
He got to the line to gain just barely. Actually brought behind it, but the forward progress will get him the movement. And that's just what Michigan needed to keep this drive alive, milk some more time off the clock, potentially get some points on the board again.
Ronnie Bell has been great at yards after the catch so far this season. He's now motioned tight into the set for Michigan with Blake Corum as the deep back. There's the direct snap, handoff Corum. Over one defender to the Block M logo at the 49-yard line. Nearing Penn State territory. Blake Corum's now over 100 yards on the afternoon.
We've seen it all season, and we saw it last season. Corum likes to get airborne. Even if it's just a man to beat, he'll try jumping, try leaping, and getting over the crowd.
All 5'9" of him, too.
Yeah.
will call it a pickup of 4 on 1st down and 10. 2nd and 6 now for Michigan. A tight bunch set to the right. They're lined up directly on that famed Block M logo at midfield. JJ, a quick throw out to the right side. Got Angelo Anthony, but he is punished to the ground. Taken down by Kalen King, the sophomore from Detroit. And that'll back up Michigan. 3rd down and 9 now. Well, that's been there today. This time it was broken up nicely by King.
Yeah. Michigan doing awfully well on 3rd down so far. 9 conversions on 13 attempts. Guess the attempts that weren't completed were in the red zone, which was very painful early in the first half.
3rd down, 9 yards to go for Michigan. 5 down linemen. They split 2 receivers wide to each side. From the right hash, JJ's got the snap. Here comes Penn State pressure. He finds his way outside the pocket to the 45 to the 50. JJ, does he put down the shoulder? He lost the football, and it bounced out backwards. I think he's shy by about a yard, Adam.
I think he is, too, especially looking where the zebra's spotting it.
Well, the public address announcer, Carl Grapentine, gave him the 1st down. I don't think that's the case here.
I wish I had that power as a PA announcer, but, yeah, I think it'll be 4th and inches. Curious to see if they bring out the chains at all. And I don't even think they will. It'll be a full yard, it looks like.
Michigan's going to go here.
The crowd does not like the replay they're showing.
I think they might take a second look at this, Adam. What do you think?
I think so as well. And the
and
refs,
two, the boos that you just heard. So that collective boo that you heard from the crowd was because the referee had 2 balls. One was set down. Michigan was ready to go.
He reached. He has it. I'm seeing the replay.
But then he lost the football. It went backwards.
Was he out yet by the time he lost it, though?
That's
a real
the
question.
We would need an angle from the far sideline.
Just one blade of grass painted white for the sideline, touching his shoes enough to declare him out.
But that collective boo again was because the officials took so long to get the ball set up. Now, that ball certainly had to have come loose because of the contact to his arm. I don't think JJ deliberately would have thrown that football out of bounds. Here might be the best look right here that we're getting on the Jumbotron here at Michigan Stadium.
Yeah, it's right there. Was he out by then?
You see, the thing for me here, Adam, is I don't think they have that evidence to overturn it.
That is very
close.
It'll be close. They might move it up a couple inches. As of now, it's a full yard pretty much.
Daquan Hardy was the Nittany Lion that made the play.
And that's very dangerous from McCarthy to be extending the arm that long.
So Michigan's offense will remain on the field. Brad Robbins is nearby. Coach Jay Harbaugh at about the 45-yard line on our side of the football field. Zach Linfield here with Adam Bressler, perched at about the 35-yard line on the north side of Michigan Stadium, all the way up in the press box. This is a big play right here. 4th down and a yard to go. 1:35 to play 3rd quarter. Colston, Loveland in motion. Here's a handoff. Korn, boy, does he have it. Nice push by the offensive line. They needed 1. He picked up 2. 1st down, Michigan.
Keeps the play alive, able to milk some more time off the clock here. You know what could be crucial is if Michigan is able to hang on to it for another minute and 20 seconds of game clock, they'll be able to kick the other direction, and that'll be with the wind behind their back.
That's a good point there.
Whether it's a punt or a field goal.
Clock now nears 1 minute of play in the 3rd quarter. McCarthy, a handoff. Donovan Edwards to the 40-yard line. He runs over one defender to the 38. And Devon Ellies makes the stop. Pickup of about 6 yards on 1st down. Michigan will need 4 more. They will need to run 1 more play before the 4th quarter begins. That's a powerful run right there by the sophomore back. Michigan cannot get to 500 total yards on this drive. Currently at the Penn State 38-yard line. 8 on the play clock for JJ in Michigan. Edwards remains the back after fumbling earlier on the drive. JJ hands off. Donovan to the 35-yard line. He's got the first down as he dives forward to the 33. And Adisa Isaac on the stop. After the chains reset, we'll bring it to the fourth quarter. Michigan wearing their all-navy blues to the near sideline. 15 minutes to play to try and knock off a top 10 opponent for the second time here in Ann Arbor in the past 2 seasons. Just a dominant day offensively. Run, 336 yards of rushing offense today for the Maize and Blue.
To be fair, almost half of that came from just 2 rushes alone.
Right.
But still dominant. Michigan's been able to chip away, get, as we just saw, keep moving the chains just on the ground, whether it's from Corum or Edwards. As we enter the final 15 minutes, Harbaugh and the Wolverines are in driving position and looking to extend their lead. The ball will be moved to the opposite side of the field with the wind at their backs now. Michigan did lose the coin toss, but they did get to choose the side of the field, and I have to imagine it was intentional having this direction at the end of the game at the fourth quarter and the end of the first half in the second quarter.
You know it's going to be a long 14 days after today. Now, you don't want to discount Penn State with 15 minutes to play. We saw how fast they could score late in the second quarter. Now, let's hope there's no top-of-the-helmet pick 6 in this fourth quarter. But, man, the bye week always does you in. It's good for Michigan to get healthy. And it's nice to know that Trente Jones probably doesn't have a season-ending injury. But it's a good time for Michigan to get healthy. Penn State had a really big beneficial week when it came to that. They got Keandre Lambert-Smith back. They got Kevon Lee back, who really hasn't played much today. But how do you feel about Michigan in that bye week, Adam? We'll talk about it in the post-game show, but during this media timeout, I wanted to get to it quick.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Still 15 minutes left to play, and a lot depends on how this game ends. If Michigan continues driving, keeps the offense going, bye week's going to feel great. I know all the players have this opponent circled for MSU after last year's matchup. I know MSU hasn't quite lived up to their end of the bargain in this one, but Michigan will be playing with passion and really excited over the next 13 days.
Can you imagine that environment?
Oh,
man,
yeah.
It's going to be electric in here.
And they haven't announced kickoff time, but a lot of rumors spreading about it being under the lights. I believe that'll be the first under the lights MSU game
here
in Ann Arbor, yep. Which would be a very interesting sight to behold. 2 days before Halloween, pitch black, under the lights. It's going to get spooky in here, especially for Mel Tucker.
Clip that. 1 minute to go on the media timeout. And Michigan Stadium's about to pump it up.
New tradition I started this year with a giant flag, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's so big, it's carried up to like the 45th row in the corner section. You could hear the Pump It Up song with DJ Ski at the helm. DJ Ski making his first trip back to the big house since the
I think we should bring him back
now famous game, yeah. He's if Michigan could hang on, he'll be 2-0 against top 10 opponents in the big house.
How about that?
Pretty good record for him. And also, T. Grizzly came at halftime out of nowhere between Michael Phelps, Congressman Upton, the new president of the university, 1997 team, right, and Woodson too. Like this has been star-studded.
Celebrity-filled weekend.
Oh, most certainly.
Here comes the fourth quarter. 15 minutes to play. Michigan in front by 14. Blake Corum is a deep back with McCarthy under center. He's got the direct snap, fakes the handoff, rolls out to the right, looking for his tight end, Colston Loveland. Got it at the 19-yard line, flagged down, out of bounds at the 15. Play was made by J.R. Brown. but we'll have to check on the flag.
I have a feeling this might get taken back.
It's going to be an ineligible man downfield for Michigan.
There it is, just as you called.
And that was the receiver, Colston Loveland. See a replay here. And they said he was covered up. And if he was, it would have been by the veteran receiver, Ronnie Bell. Ronnie was on the line, as was Colston, which means that the Michigan tight end was not able to run a route. First down and 15 for Michigan. Now from the Penn State 38-yard line. In the pistol set, McCarthy's got Corum behind him. A speed option left. Corum angling to the sideline, and he's out of bounds near the 35. I think he might be marked just shy of that. Abdul Carter, the freshman from Philly, pushes him out of bounds.
Going to be a gain of 2 or so. Going to bring up a 2nd and long. Pretty tough after that big passing gain was negated.
Michigan got him to jump off sides. McCarthy takes a shot, middle of the field, incomplete. Abdul Carter was in coverage of Colston Loveland, but it's going to bring up now 2nd down and 7 as it looked like Penn State jumped off sides.
Free play right there. Took a risky throw downfield. I'm fine with that. Going to be a 5-yard penalty. 2nd and 7 now, so a little bit more manageable.
That's the 5th-year senior P.J. Mustafer that jumped off sides. And Olu Oluwatimi, you got to remember, a Remington Award finalist a season ago at Virginia, transferred to Michigan. He's been spectacular for Michigan at noticing that this season. He was called off sides for doing so last week against Indiana, but does a really good job, and so does JJ, just unleashing the football down the field. A 3 tight end set for Michigan. They all shift from the left to the right side of the set. And now Michigan jumped off sides. Quick throw left side was complete to Anthony, but Michigan and Penn State trading 5-yard penalties here.
They'll bring him right back, and that looked like it would have been a first down. Anthony had just one man to beat to the end zone.
That was Max Bredesen, the guilty party this time, and, well, no deja vu. We're back to 2nd down and 12.
Real shame right there. Would have been a solid gain for the Wolverines if it wasn't ruled dead.
Now you'd like to pick up some here on 2nd down and 12. Put yourself in a better position to at least get 3 here. Of course, now we're pleading to get at least 3. Go up by 3 possessions. 14:05 to play 4th quarter from the left hash. 5 on the play clock for McCarthy. He's got it. Fires, wide open receiver. Edwards got the first down. 15-yard line. Bounced out of bounds by Carter. Nice pitch and catch from 9 to 7. And oh boy, do they continue to be a very talented duo for Michigan.
Back in the red zone once again. Michigan has struggled a lot in the red zone today. 3 kicks. 2 of their touchdowns, their 2 most recent ones, never even had a snap from the red zone.
There's the first reception of the day for Donovan Edwards. Now 484 total yards of offense for Michigan. Anthony in motion from left to right. Here's a handoff to Donovan, right up the middle, and he's met almost immediately by Elsdon, the middle linebacker. Curtis Jacobs in there on the stop as well.
Curtis Jacobs, Tyler Elsdon on the tackle. Gain of 1.
Bring up 2nd down and 7. Michigan trades a receiver and a running back for 2 tight ends. And a new running back, Blake Corum, back into the football game for Michigan with the ball at the Penn State 13-yard line. A little off equilibrium, middle of the field as it nears the left hash. Michigan moving at a snail's pace at this point. 5 seconds on the play clock for JJ under center.
More laundry, it looks like, with the maze out today. The referees want to get in with it, throwing their yellow flags on the field.
I think this was Ryan Hayes, the left tackle for Michigan.
Exactly, another false start. Going to be 2nd and 14 now as Michigan inches their way back, just barely in the red zone now on the 18.5-yard line.
Yeah, Trevor Keegan and Ryan Hayes, as we're sitting right next to the ESPN radio broadcast booth. Jim Harbaugh is not happy with the official here on the near sideline because they think that Penn State is simulating different signals to Michigan's offensive line, and Trevor Keegan and Ryan Hayes are both in unison and agreeing with that. Nonetheless, brings up 2nd down and 14 for Michigan. JJ's got a low snap from the shotgun, steps up in the pocket. He's going to be sacked from behind and wrestled to the ground. Well done by Keziah Izzard to bring him to the ground.
3rd and 19 right now for the Wolverines. I'd keep it on the ground right here. Don't want to risk another sack and making the field goal even longer.
You bring the playmaker Blake Corum into the football game and maybe see what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. Hand it to him. Worst case scenario, it's a gain of 1 or 2. Best case is a touchdown.
We're looking at about a 40-yard field goal right now. Michigan is lined up exactly, splitting the hashes. 3 seconds on the play clock for Michigan. JJ's got the snap, hands off Blake Corum. Squirms away from one defender, but then brought down by Curtis Jacobs at the 19. And now Jake Moody will be able to trot on for a field goal attempt of about 36 yards.
Clock continues to run, and this is crucial for Penn State. If Moody is able to get it in, this will make it a 3-possession game, and you only have a bit over 11 minutes to work with.
Michigan to the quarter-century mark in first downs today, 25-6. Dominant in the first down category over Penn State. Greg Tarr to snap, Brad Robbins to hold, the kick up away, and it is good. And Jake Moody has now put Michigan in front by 17. 34-17, Michigan leads Penn State in a matchup of 2 top 10 teams and 2 Big Ten East rivals here in the Big House.
Moody now with 12 points on the day. I guess even more if you include the extra points. 15 if you include the extra points. Believe that'll keep him in first place in the nation for points scored. Came in today with that. I'll have to check the out-of-town scoreboard if any other players have been ranking some points. Speaking of which, I believe you have the out-of-town scoreboard pulled up.
I was going to say, you read my mind. Down in SEC country, 9th-ranked Ole Miss. In a close one with Auburn as the Tigers score 14 points in the third quarter to inch closer. That score down in Mississippi, 38-31. Score in Oklahoma, it looks like Brent Venables' club is going to get their first Big 12 win, 49-28 over 19th-ranked Kansas after they duked it out with TCU last weekend in Lawrence. Texas on top of Iowa State, 24-21, as Quinn Ewers is back for his second game following his shoulder injury against Alabama earlier this season. In the Big Ten, 24th-ranked Illinois on top of Minnesota, 26-14. And how about the Fighting Illini? Tommy DeVito returns today from injury. He's currently 25 of 32, 252 yards and 1 touchdown. But how about this? The running back Brown for the Fighting Illini, 39 carries, 165 yards.
It's incredible. Definitely setting up a good late season November cold matchup. Frozen tundra in Ann Arbor as Michigan welcomes the Illini in this, I guess, like cross-division rivalry.
Only play the Fighting Illini every once in a while. Last time they faced off was in Champaign a couple of years ago. Shea Patterson put together a pretty good game. But Illinois had a late-game comeback, if I remember that game correctly. But it's been a while since the Fighting Illini have made their way here. So it'll be an interesting trip for Brett Bielema's club. It's been a while since we've seen a lot of different teams. We saw Northwestern last year, but we've been pretty foreign to Purdue. Haven't really seen the Boilermakers.
Went on the road to Minnesota last year, or I guess 2 years ago with COVID.
But they haven't been here.
No fans, yeah. That's tough.
And not as us as seniors. We haven't seen a couple of different teams.
It's tough. They got the like brown jug rivalry, but they can't really exchange it too much now that they're in different divisions.
You've got to wonder, too, how the switch up with those teams in the Pac-12 will change the structure
They got to
of the Big
completely
Ten.
redo the Big Ten. I believe you or maybe may have been Jared in the first half mentioned that in Big Ten play, or with the dawn of the conference championship game, it's been won by the East every single season.
Year. Yep.
So I think that alone should be enough cause to at least redo the divisions. You don't want, imagine the Super Bowl if the AFC won every year. Like, it wouldn't even be that cool.
Right. I mean, it's been the Big Ten East 4 and then the rest.
Yep.
Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State all have championships. The other 3 do not. Jake Moody kicks it away to Nick Singleton. He'll say no thank you. And Penn State will take over from the 25-yard line. 11 minutes even remaining in this football game. Michigan in front 34-17 over 10th-ranked Penn State.
Penn State has their work cut out for them. Down by 3 possessions here. 11 minutes exactly remaining. They're going to have to get aggressive. Not only going for it on 4th down, but taking some deep shots.
Penn State with a switch up at the quarterback position. Drew Aller, the 5-star freshman from Medina, Ohio, is now into the football game. Here's a handoff to the right tackle to Singleton. Picks up about 4 yards to the 29. 2nd down and 6. Mike Morris and Chris Jenkins combine on the stop for Michigan. Now the freshman from IMG Academy, Katron Allen, back into the ball game as the running back. 1 tight end set for Penn State. 2 receivers wide left, 1 to the right. Aller from the shotgun, stands at his own 24-yard line, gets a low snap, drops to throw. Here comes pressure, fires across the middle, got Tinsley, and he's brought down right in between the hashes by the linebacker Junior Colson and DJ Turner. 1st down Penn State to their own 37-yard line. Penn State going to move with a lot of tempo now. Same formation. Aller in the shotgun, barking out signals, he's got it. Steps up in the pocket, throws, almost intercepted by Jamon Green. There is a flag down. Keandre Lambert-Smith was his intended receiver. I think they might get Jamon for pass interference.
That's what it looks like they're signaling. Going to be a push-off right there. Move Penn State even further down the field.
That's the 6th penalty of the day now on Michigan. Only for 35 yards, and the Michigan crowd does not like the call. 1st down and 10 for Penn State at their own 48-yard line. Aller from the shotgun, a delayed snap. I think they might get him for a false start here. And again, Michigan and Penn State trading penalties.
The first half was relatively penalty-free, but especially the waning minutes of the 3rd quarter and the first 5 minutes of the 4th so far, just been completely undisciplined from both teams and both sides of the game. There it is, a false start on the offense, as you called. And we see on the sideline, Clifford does not have a helmet on now.
Figure his day's now done.
Yeah.
And there's the big house impact meter for the first time. The Michigan sideline still urging on this crowd, up by 17. Parker Washington in motion from left to right. Allen is the back to the left hip of Drew Aller, the freshman quarterback. He's got the snap, steps up in the pocket, plenty of time to throw. Throws down the middle of the field, incomplete. Intended receiver was Mitchell Tinsley. Boy, have they been targeting him a lot today. And Jamon Green again in coverage.
This will bring up 2nd and 15 now on Penn State's own 43-yard line.
The Nittany Lions now with some urgency. 20 on the play clock, plenty of time to go. Clock is stopped after the incompletion. 9:55 to play 4th quarter. Michigan in front, 34-17. Penn State moving around, different receivers now. 3 to the left, 1 to the right. Katron Allen is still the back. Allen in the shotgun. Drops the throw. Here comes pressure from his backside. Rolling out to his right. Dumps it off. Incomplete. Nice catch by Nikai Hill-Green on the sideline.
Bringing down a 3rd and long for the Nittany Lions. Got to imagine they go for it on 4th, even if it's beyond 10.
Third down, 15 yards to go for Penn State. All Navy Blues against the All Whites today here in the Big House. Katron Allen into the backfield now. Extra motion man is Amari Evans, the freshman from Texas. Haven't seen him too much today. Aller from the shotgun. He's got the snap, dropping to throw. Here comes pressure from his backside. He gets away from one. He'll tuck it, he'll run, and he's met by a couple of different Wolverines near the original line of scrimmage at about the 47-yard line. Combo stop of Mike Morris and Mozzie Smith. That brings up 4th down and 11. He seemed very hesitant to tuck that football there, didn't he?
Yeah, you could tell that he doesn't get a ton of snaps in game time situations.
This might be the ball game right here, Adam. Michigan gets the ball back, they score again, they pretty much put this thing away, and Michigan's going to use a timeout.
There it is, first timeout of the half. Bring up immediate timeout here in the 4th quarter. Michigan up by 3 possessions now, looking to stop Penn State and maintain this lead and ideally move up in the AP rankings. Bit of a surprise for them to jump down a spot last Sunday.
There's plenty of opportunity today for Michigan to jump ahead of those teams, especially if they're able to wrap up this victory here. Clemson on the road against Florida State. And that's a big game tonight from Doak Campbell Stadium. It'll be a pretty revved up crowd in Tallahassee. And then also Tennessee and Alabama, number 3 against number 6. And you think even if Tennessee's able to pull that game out from Knoxville, it's been 15 straight times that Alabama has been able to beat the Vols. Would you see Tennessee potentially hopping Michigan even if Michigan comes away with a top 10 win here? They'd have to beat them pretty convincingly, I would think.
I think it would be a pretty convinced hop an undefeated team that got a top 10 win at home. I can't imagine Tennessee hopping Michigan this week unless it's a 3-4 possession game. But definitely leaves some opportunity for movement if Bama has some trouble. I think even if Bama wins by 1 and it's a close game, as long as they hang on and get that dub, they'll take the top spot in the rankings. One team that Michigan won't be jumping over this week, Ohio State, on its bye.
They've kind of been the placeholder in that number 2 spot because Georgia and Alabama just can't figure out who wants the number 1 spot. Georgia is in action today as well as Alabama. Seems like the Bulldogs should be able to run away with the win at home against a defeated Vanderbilt team in the SEC this season, coming in at 3-3. Georgia at 6-0. They've had a couple of tight games, though. One oddly with Kent State, and then Missouri on the road in a game that the Tigers, boy, they should have won that football game.
They definitely should have. We were watching that on our way back from Iowa in the car, listening to it on the radio, and that was Missouri's game to lose.
Just over 9 minutes to play here from the Big House. And we're eyeing down a 4th down and 11 for Penn State in about 30 seconds. And what should be one of the last few media timeouts. And the next time, Adam, that we're going to talk Michigan football is that Michigan State game live over the airways, number 1. And secondly, it's basketball week. Basketball starts that week as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week.
That's odd to think about, isn't it?
Some big games to start the season, headed to LCA just that second week of the season.
Well, why not rev up 111,000 one more time here in Ann Arbor? Let's see if that maze-out effect can be put into play here. The backup quarterback, Drew Aller, 6'5" freshman from the shotgun. 3 receivers to the right on 4th down and 11 from the left hash. Aller, he's got the snap. Here comes pressure. Aller steps back, throws incomplete. He wanted his running back Singleton, but Junior Colson, Michigan's middle linebacker, was right there in coverage. Turnover on downs, 1st down, Michigan.
Michigan has 9 minutes, 6 seconds on the clock, taking over possession once again. You have to think, honestly, any points here might ice the game. We've seen Penn State's ability to score quickly, But if Michigan is able to get another touchdown or even a field goal, that could do it, especially if they're able to take some time off the clock in the process.
First down and 10 for Michigan. Penn State's 47-yard line to begin. Pistol set for McCarthy and the Wolverines. Turns right, hands off Blake Corum. Can't get away from the original pursuit of the Penn State defensive front. Stop was made by Chop Robinson, the transfer from Maryland. Second down and 11. The clock now churns under 9 minutes to play here from the Big House. Michigan in front 34-17.
And you know the Wolverines are going to use all 40 seconds of the play clock on each and every down.
They've done a really good job of that.
You know.
In both the first half and the second half of previous football games. Back to the right hash, 48-yard line for Michigan. Blake Corum again the back. Motion man is Bredesen. Another handoff to Blake. Nope, JJ's got it around right end to the 45-yard line. 40, JJ got the first down. Barrels over a defender, spins past the 30, and he's brought down at about the 27-yard line. Robinson again brings him to the turf. But how about that? The youngster, man, can he run that football?
McCarthy just kept bouncing forward. Looked like he'd get tackled for maybe even a loss there, but he just kept going and extended beyond the first down and moved the chains.
And you know Andrell Anthony has not had a great year on the receiving end. He hasn't been targeted all that much, but he is earning those opportunities with blocks like that down the field. He was locked up with the cornerback Johnny Dixon all the way until JJ was able to blow by him. That was about 10 yards down the field. First down and 10, Penn State's 27. There's a long handoff to Blake Corum around the right end. Gets away from one defender, 25-yard line, 20, 15. Brought down from behind. There is a flag down. Jalen Reed made the stop, the sophomore from Martin Luther King High School in Detroit. But we'll have to check on the laundry.
If the flag's on Penn State and they decline, going to be an offensive holding, so that'll negate the big gain. Going to be 1st and 20 now. Back in Michigan, back up.
And plenty of Wolverines have had good days today, but seemingly nothing from Luke Schoonmaker. He was the one called for the offensive holding there. It'll be first down and 20 for Michigan after the good run by Blake Corum. Michigan has 2 running backs, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum today, over 100 yards apiece. Last time Michigan did that was in 2019 in a blowout win over Rutgers. At the time, Zach Charbonnet and Hassan Haskins combined for over 240 yards on the ground. Here's a handoff, Donovan Edwards to the 35-yard line, angling back up the middle of the field, and Curtis Jacobs brings Donovan to the ground. Nice pickup on first down and 20, 2nd and 10.
Edwards did that stutter step that he loves to do and then just found the gap and took off. Going to be 2nd and 10, so completely negates a holding penalty. Clock under 7 now.
Now huddles on every single play. I mean, why not?
No.
15 on the play clock for J.J. McCarthy in the Wolverine offense. A loaded pistol set with Bredesen, the tight end, pretty much acting as a fullback in recent weeks. Off the right hip of J.J. McCarthy. Luke Schoonmaker now settles in as the tight end. Here's a handoff to Edwards, trying to get around the end, and he's brought down by Keziah Izzard behind the line of scrimmage.
Going to be a 3rd and long, 3rd and 14 is where it's spotted at. You have to imagine, despite that, Michigan still keeps it on the ground here, milking as much clock as they can. If you're Penn State, do you start considering timeouts here? If you want any chance you want to preserve the clock, 2 timeouts for the Nittany Lions left.
Now under 6 minutes. 17-point lead for Michigan. 3rd down and 14. 5 on the play clock for JJ. Here's a handoff right up the middle to Donovan Edwards to the 20-yard line. Angling to the right side. 15, 10, 5. And he's brought down at the 3 by Jacobs. Boy, oh boy, is that kid special, man. Compliments to the offensive line as well. 28 yards on the pickup for Donovan Edwards. He's scooted by a couple of different defenders, and you're not going to bring them down with effort like that.
Last season, Michigan had the dual backs with Haskins and Corum. With Haskins graduating, the question would be, does that whole load go on Corum's back? Answer is pretty evident halfway through the season, not at all.
538 total yards of offense. Here's a give. Edwards up the middle. Touchdown, Michigan. Now pouring it on Penn State. It's 40-17 Michigan. 3 yards for the sophomore. He's got a second.
So each running back has 2 apiece this game. Michigan's pounding it on the ground. And this game has quickly become a blowout. And dare I say, this score almost underestimates how the team's been looking this game so far. It could easily be in the 50s.
In the 50s. Jake Moody on to attempt the extra point now. Good hold, kick up, and it's good. It's now 41-17. Michigan in front of a top 10 team, Penn State. And that'll now beg the question, who do you root for in a couple weeks? Penn State, Ohio State. Just got announced as Big Noon kickoff in 2 weekends, same day as Michigan State. I think at this point you've got to root for the Nittany Lions. They knock off Ohio State. Michigan's in that much better of a position to win the Big Ten East.
I agree, but I never want to root for the Buckeyes. But if this is an undefeated matchup, I might be getting ahead of myself. But an 11-0 versus an 11-0 team in Columbus, following off last year, the hype around that game will be incredible. So I don't know. A loss would be very, very beneficial for the Wolverines between the Nittany Lions and the Ohio State Buckeyes. But I don't know. I'd like the Leicester, the undefeated teams facing off in the last game of the season 2 days after Thanksgiving.
You've had a great time here today from Ann Arbor. And, well, Penn State kind of took the breath away from you there in the later half of the second quarter. That pick six of J.J. McCarthy, or well, I should probably say off of P.J. Mustafer's helmet, that fell into the waiting arms of Curtis Jacobs. But with just over 5 minutes to play from the big house in Ann Arbor, the maze-out effect, the second straight season, blows out a team. Michigan dominated Washington last year under the lights in the return of Giles Jackson. And now Penn State visits the big house with big-time aspirations on their to-do list under James Franklin and Jim Harbaugh's company today. Boy, oh boy, what a performance by the Maize and Blue.
Absolutely.
And now they get 14 days to do something they haven't done since pretty much we've been in school, and that's beat Michigan State.
Yeah, happened our freshman year, but that's been it.
You know, that's actually the only Big Ten East game you and I haven't covered.
Is that so?
That's correct.
Because we did Maryland last season, we did Ohio State last season.
Go through them all.
Did we do Rutgers? Were you on that with me?
I was in here with you guys.
I remember that, yeah. Penn State now. Yeah, I guess that'll be it. Moving our way around the conference.
I was talking about this with a couple of other WCBN mates this past week, and I believe you and I are now.
I don't think we've done Indiana together because I didn't go last week, and last year under the lights I wasn't on that one.
You weren't in there? Okay, because I was in the booth. I didn't call the game.
Yeah.
But you and I are also, I believe, the most reoccurring duo for football that we've had.
We got a good tandem. I guess going back to maybe Nate Sorensen, he used to do all these with Jeremy Park. But beyond that, we got a good chemistry together.
And I like calling these top 10 games with you.
It's a lot of fun. Remind me at the next break and play. I got a question for you I've been thinking about, but I'd love your thoughts after this kickoff.
Okay, Jake Moody kicks it away. Nick Singleton, 2 fists to each hip. And Penn State will start at the 25. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm wondering. With this win today, does the notion that, we got a media timeout, perfect, okay, so we could dive into this. Does the notion that Jim Harbaugh can't win the big games, is it completely busted after this game? Like, I know it was kind of busted last year after the OSU game. Finally got that monkey off his back. I think it'll help if we'll beat Michigan State in 2 weeks, because that's also been a question for him. But he's had some very solid, convincing wins, both at home and on the road the past 2 seasons.
Right.
I think that narrative is completely busted now. If they win, hang on to this huge victory.
And let's look at the last approximately 365.
Yeah.
Go on the road. You beat Wisconsin, a place you have not won since 2005. On the road this year, Iowa, a place you haven't won since 2000. Ohio State last year, haven't beaten them in a decade. There's only one team that's still in the way, and that's Michigan State.
Yeah.
14. Now, that's not necessarily a big game by status means. With the rankings and all that this year, we're going to find out more about Michigan State later today at 4 o'clock at home against Wisconsin. But that's still a big game. A rivalry is always a big game, and I think that question can be solidly answered on October 29th.
Yeah. Exactly. Even if Michigan wins here, if Mel Tucker gets a game of his season and beats the Wolverines on the road, that season will be a dub for them. I know their record is not very good, yet to get a Power 5 win.
Right, a Power 5 win.
This season, yet to get a Big Ten win either. I guess that goes without saying after the last comment. But if they come in, and that's the only Big Ten game they win on the road against the Wolverines, I think for a lot of MSU fans, that season's still a success. Yeah.
But I think here, Adam, but nonetheless, Michigan should not move in the rankings unless there's a loss in front of them.
Yeah. Oh, no way. Having a
even
top
if Tennessee
10
beats
team,
Alabama at number 3, I don't think you can have them jump
No,
them.
you can't. I'm in the firm belief if your team wins, you probably shouldn't drop in the rankings. But regardless of that, they didn't just win today. They're blowing out a 10th-ranked team with that was previously undefeated. There's no reason whatsoever they should fall. And honestly, I think there's a pretty good case they might have to move up depending on what happens in this Clemson game and the Tennessee game. Even if
Clemson hasn't looked all that sharp this year either.
I know. I think it surprised quite a few people to see them.
I think
jump
maybe
the
if Clemson
Wolverines.
wins by just a couple of points and they don't play all that well, we might see a flip-flop again. Penn State takes over 25-yard line. 5:03 to play, fourth quarter. Drew Aller remains the quarterback. He'll hand off to Nick Singleton right up the middle, and he'll pick up about 6 yards on first down.
I know Penn State's wearing the white, but it looks like they're waving the white flag now, too. This very unaggressive play style.
Back to the shotgun. Another handoff to Singleton right up the middle, and the safety, Rod Moore, has to bring him down as he busted into the Michigan secondary. You know something I'd really like to make a comment of as Hunter Norzad, the backup left guard for Penn State, gingerly walks up to the line. It's been pretty injury-free today. Jamon Green, just for a moment, Aller from the shotgun, throws out, left sideline, got it complete to his receiver, Wallace. His second catch of the ball game. And Norzad now has to hustle off the field. But it's been a relatively healthy game. We saw Jamon Green injured for a moment, but he has since returned. And Penn State really hasn't had much happen to them either.
Yes, Clifford.
Or is this just for the experience of the freshman quarterback?
Maybe.
Second down at about half a yard. Aller from the shotgun rolls out to his right, looking for somewhere to go with it. Wide open down the left sideline. Singleton, and he dropped it. Oh, man. Quentin Johnson, the safety, provided the footsteps. And that reminds me of the Saquon Barkley catch a number of years ago where he bobbled it up into the air a number of times at the whiteout in, I believe, 2015. But the freshman Singleton dropped it. 3:51 now to play. Third down and 1. Penn State might just want the first down here. Quick throw to the right sideline. Got it complete. That's Tinsley, and he's pushed out of bounds by Will Johnson, the freshman from Grosse Pointe.
Clock is quickly getting down. 3 minutes 45.
Michigan winning this one 41-17 right now. Michigan doing some shuffling in the defensive backfield. Here comes pressure to Aller. Dumps it off to Katron Allen, and he's brought down by Smith. Right back to the line of scrimmage, 42-yard line is the mark. Rod Moore's been busy today. The safety from Ohio. Aller from the gun. Drops, rolls out to the left, past the Block M logo, looking for somewhere to go with it. Fires down the middle of the field, incomplete. Wanted Wallace again.
That's a big-time hit the quarterback just got there.
Yeah. Mozzie Smith provided pressure. And I believe it was Mike Sainristil that laid the wood on him. Now 3rd down and 10. 3:10 to play in the ballgame. Penn State from the right hash, empties out the backfield. And now Aller will welcome the freshman Nick Singleton. 5 touchdowns on the year for Singleton, the freshman from Shillington, Pennsylvania. From the 42-yard line, Aller, he's got the snap, drops back, gets hit, gonna get sacked. Mike Barrett was there first, and Taylor Upshaw cleans up. 4th down and long now for Penn State. 16 yards to go.
Do they even go for it here? Like, this game is settled.
How about this for showing up and showing out today for Michigan? I think this is their coming out party for 2022. 4th down and 16. Singleton remains the back, 3 receivers wide left, including a near slot tight end, Johnson. Here comes pressure to Aller. Slides away from one, can't get away from a second. There's a flag down near sideline. Taylor Upshaw was able to grab him by a shoestring and bring him to the turf. But I think this might be offsides on Michigan.
You called it offsides, Michigan. It's going to be a replay of 4th down, so 4th and 11.
That was the one that made the sack. Taylor Upshaw, the guilty party. Ball now scoots up to the 43-yard line with 2:25 to play. Michigan dominant in the first down category today, 27-10. Penn State only had 1 in the first half, yet they've only scored 3 points here in the second half. The freshman Drew Aller took over for Sean Clifford 1 drive ago, moving the ball relatively nicely on this drive, but now has it on 4th down and 11. From the pocket, fires across the middle. Nice catch by Parker Washington. He slid down and kind of breadbasketed the catch into his right arm.
Isn't that?
Did they get the first down?
I don't think so.
They needed the 32, and if anything, they got it by about an inch. And Jim Harbaugh pleading his case here on the near sideline. I don't know. After review on the big board.
They're going to bring the chains, it looks like. But
so not only
I'm
will they
curious
measure
about the
it,
spot, too.
Do you think they might measure this and then also give it a second look here, Adam?
I guess. It was 4th down before, so this will determine whether Michigan gets the ball back or Penn State gets a couple more plays to mess around with it, but it's awfully close. I don't know if they'll do a replay, honestly, this late in the game when it's up so big. I think the referees even want to go home on this one.
Michigan has nearly doubled up Penn State when it comes to yardage total, 541 to 258. But Adam, time of possession, Michigan almost 40 minutes to Penn State's 15. And he's short. Parker Washington did not get the first down. And Michigan's sideline currently waving goodbye to Penn State.
That'll likely do it. You mentioned the time of possession, almost exactly equal to the score. Penn State has 17 points and 18 minutes of possession. Michigan, 39 minutes of possession with 41 points. As they, in this game here, they'll likely get up to 41.
Nice to see some of the Michigan backups getting an opportunity here. Now all you want to do, play penalty-free football and play healthy football. Here's Davis Warren. Hands off. C.J. Stokes barrels over one defender at the 35 and shoots his way up to the 37-yard line. His last carry in a Michigan uniform was against Maryland when Donovan Edwards was inactive. He fumbled on that carry and has not gotten one until right there. Pickup of 4 yards for the freshman running back. Hakeem Beeman made the tackle. Beautiful story for Davis Warren from California, overcoming leukemia. Now playing as a second-string quarterback for Jim Harbaugh's Wolverines. Here's a handoff between the tackles to C.J. Stokes, and he's met almost immediately, stonewalled by Penn State's defense. Dennis Sutton, the defensive end, made the tackle. Third down and 6, and you mentioned it on Penn State's drive, Adam. James Franklin and the Nittany Lions have been waving that white flag for quite some time now. They have 2 timeouts remaining, will not use them. And that last carry for Michigan now gives them 400 even on the day. 545 total yards of Michigan offense. 41-17, maize and blue in front. Warren hands off, C.J. Stokes right up the middle of the field, almost gets away. He got to the 48-yard line, and he was one shoestring, an inlet, away from breaking free.
We are one kneel down away from a victory in the maize-out game. Michigan had a fight late in the second quarter, able to hang on for a 41-17 victory. Big-time win at home for Coach Harbaugh, and is this maybe JJ's first big-time win as a starter? Still undefeated.
One more handoff. C.J. Stokes breaks away from one defender, and he's hit low and tackled at the 45-yard line. Some pushing and shoving, and Michigan's going to win this football game.
Crowd gets loud. Lots of fans left already. It was a blowout. But those who remained are on their feet, and the sun comes out, shines down onto the maize t-shirts and jerseys, as the Michigan fans got a real treat in this one.
Zeros on the clock. The 2 teams will meet at Let's redo that. Zeros on the clock. The 2 teams will meet at midfield to say job well done, but job better done today by the Michigan Wolverines. Victory number 984 all time for the maize and blue. Final score 41-17 over the 10th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. What a victory today for Jim Harbaugh and his company, as now it's time, 14 days away from a rivalry matchup here at the Big House with a team the Wolverines have not beaten since 2019. The Michigan State Spartans are on the clock, and it's time to get healthy, rest up, and try and beat those Spartans on October 29th.
It's going to be a big game here in 2 weeks. October 29th, game time still yet to be announced. WCBN will be broadcasting this both over YouTube and the FM airwaves. Going to be our second FM airwave broadcast of 2022 for football. So be sure to tune into that either within our broadcast range in Southeast Michigan or anywhere in the world with an internet connection.
Well, let's wrap this thing up, Adam. Michigan wins it 41-17, but a couple of the big figures of today's ball game: 563 total yards compared to Penn State's 268, but that's not even the most impressive thing. That little area where it says rushing yards, 418 total on the ground. You mentioned 2 of them were very long rushes by Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, but what a day it was for the running backs. But you've also got to give props to that offensive line.
Oh, most certainly. You can't have great runs without holes and gaps, and the line did a phenomenal job of making room for both backs. And Corum is having a really special season. I know Edwards also had 2 touchdowns today, but Corum's is it too early to start hyping his Heisman candidacy? I don't know. I think he has the goods, and if he puts up a big showing against Ohio State, just like his teammate last year, I think he'll at least get the invite to New York in December.
And now he gets the opportunity to play against Michigan State in 14 days, and I think a lot of eyes will be on Blake Corum in that one, especially after what Kenneth Walker III did to Michigan last season. Time of possession today, Michigan also very dominant. 41 minutes, almost 42 compared to Penn State's 18. We look at the first downs today. Michigan, boy oh boy, did they completely dominate Penn State, 28-10. The Nittany Lions only had 1 in the first half. Now I'd be interested to see the splits of each half right now. for Penn State, their total yardage in the second half, because majority of their yardage came on the 62-yard run by Sean Clifford and the long catch down the right sideline by Harrison Wallace. But overall, the second consecutive week that Jesse Minter and his defensive staff have made beautiful halftime adjustments in the locker room and have come out and played really good football. Penn State only 3 points at them in that second half.
Yeah, they had some good drives that Michigan was able to stop, and that was huge for the Wolverines' defense and the offense, too, just the momentum. But I think this was a huge win for the Wolverines and a huge win for Coach Harbaugh. He's had, we discussed this earlier, he's had some questions about can he win the big game. I think that discussion is firmly settled and firmly put to rest. And it'll be firmly put to rest in 2 Saturdays from now against Michigan State.
We didn't really talk a lot about J.J. McCarthy today. He threw 7 incompletions, 1 interception, which, yes, he stumbled. Yes, he made a questionable throw that just happened to bounce off the helmet of P.J. Mustipher and into the arms of, well, a defensive back running in the direction of Michigan's end zone, Curtis Jacobs, on the pick 6, which put Penn State in front just momentarily, 16-14. But really overall, 14-13 at the time. But J.J. did not have a bad day. He missed on a couple of screen passes that he should have had, but down the field, he looked pretty good. He didn't miss his downfield shots today, maybe outside of the one where Ronnie Bell tried to get his feet in bounds, but no touchdown passes. Doesn't really matter. It was a good day for J.J.
And I liked what I saw from him on the ground. He's the play action moves and some of these design runs and scrambles. He's done what needs to be done to keep the play alive and at least make defenders and opposing teams recognize him as a threat on the ground. And that alone will take attention away from a receiver, from someone else, and open up some plays and open up the playbook, especially when Michigan State, Nebraska, Illinois, and then the big one, Ohio State, takes a look at the film and starts looking at J.J. and trying to scheme up a way to beat him.
Of course. Now, I got to ask you, outside of the running backs, who's your player of the game today for Michigan?
Outside of the running backs, ooh. Well, you take away the 2 easy ones.
Of course.
I like J.J. I don't know if I give it to
really
him. It was a team effort. Maybe even a defender. There's no real standout.
This week.
You got me stumped.
It was a team effort today.
Outside of the running backs, obviously. I don't know. Maybe Ronnie Bell. He had a good game. He got the 2-point conversion,
you know what?
So he got some points.
I'll give you an answer.
Yeah.
I think the offensive line is a unit.
I
think that's probably
I'll agree with that
400-plus yards of rushing offense is incredible. Now, your goal for the bye week, of course, get healthy, but what do you think Michigan might need to switch around to get ready for Michigan State?
Ooh. A lot is going to depend what happens against Wisconsin later today. I want to see how Michigan State adjusts, especially there's so much for them they need to work on from the past couple of weeks. So I'll see what they work on, what they need to improve. The real struggle last year was the ground game against Michigan State. I don't know how much of that was just Kenneth Walker, and with him gone, whether that is even a consideration now. But I think I'll go with that. I'll say Michigan should keep an eye on the ground defense, especially losing 2 of the big linemen who had 2 great games last year. Hutchinson had a huge game. He almost had that strip sack touchdown that we could discuss on end for minutes and minutes here if we wanted to. But, yeah, I'd say ground game.
You got to figure out the red zone. I think you've got to figure out how to score touchdowns in the red zone. Settled for too many field goals today, but ultimately it gets the job done. Michigan outscores Penn State.
I don't know. Even in the second half, though, it wasn't a huge problem having to kick in the red zone. That was a real first half thing.
A good day for Jake Moody.
Moody had a great game.
There you go. There's your other player of the game.
I'll give it to Moody. I choose. He's so money, he's so automatic. I don't even think of him that often.
Michigan outscores Penn State in 3 out of the 4 quarters. The only quarter the Nittany Lions had more points was the second, and that included the quarter with the pick 6. That'll do it for us here in the WCBN broadcast booth. Final score today, Michigan 41 and 10th-ranked Penn State 17. From Zach Linfield, Adam Bressler to my right. Catch us next time, October 29th. Game time not yet known for a big-time showdown with the in-state rival. It's the battle for Paul Bunyan between Michigan and Michigan State. With that, we say good night, and of course, go Blue.